The towering war engines known as Titans trace their origins to humanity's greatest technological achievement, the Dark Age of Technology. During this golden era spanning roughly the 15th to 25th millennia, human civilization reached unprecedented heights of scientific mastery. Standard Templet Constructs represented the pinnacle of this achievement, containing complete manufacturing blueprints and construction protocols for countless technologies. Among these precious SDCs lay the fundamental designs that would eventually give birth to the god machines themselves. The earliest Titan prototypes emerged from military research facilities scattered across Terra and the expanding human colonies. These initial designs bore little resemblance to the cathedral, like war engines that would later stride across battlefields throughout the galaxy. Standing approximately 30 meters tall, these primitive god machines featured crude bipedal chassis constructed from standard industrial materials. Their weapon systems consisted of basic laser arrays and projectile cannons, lacking the devastating plasma weaponry and void shields that would become synonymous with Titan warfare. Archaeological evidence recovered from deep Martian excavations suggests that the first true Titan-class engines incorporated revolutionary technologies that remain poorly understood even by the most learned tech adepts. These machines possessed rudimentary artificial intelligence systems, though nothing approaching the sophisticated machine spirits that would later inhabit their successors. The original constructors embedded quantum processing cores within reinforced adamantine housing, creating the foundation for what would eventually evolve into the sacred bond between princeps and machine. As the Dark Age of Technology reached its zenith, Titan development accelerated dramatically. Engineers on forge worlds throughout human space refined the basic chassis designs, experimenting with different configurations and weapon loadouts. The famous Warlord-class pattern emerged during this period, though early versions stood considerably smaller than their modern counterparts. These prototypes featured modular weapon systems, allowing rapid battlefield reconfiguration, a capability that would prove crucial during the coming Age of Strife. The collapse of human civilization during the Age of Strife scattered these precious SDC fragments across the galaxy. Most forge worlds lost contact with Terra as warp storms ravaged interstellar travel routes. On countless worlds, the knowledge of Titan construction vanished entirely as societies crumbled and technology regressed to primitive levels. However, Mars proved different. The red planet's unique position and the growing influence of the Cult Mechanicus ensured that crucial Titan SDCs survived the chaos. Mars had established itself as the premier forge world long before the Age of Strife began. Its vast industrial complexes and deep underground manufactorums provided ideal conditions for preserving advanced technologies. When the warp storms intensified and contact with other human worlds became impossible, the Martian tech priests turned inward, focusing their efforts on maintaining and improving their existing knowledge base. The Titan SDCs became objects of particular reverence, viewed as sacred gifts from the Omnissiah himself. The Mechanicum's approach to Titan construction differed fundamentally from their Dark Age predecessors. Where the original engineers had pursued efficiency and standardization, the tech priests embraced ritual and sanctification. Every component required proper blessing before installation. Each joint and servo demanded specific incantations during assembly. The construction process evolved from industrial manufacturing into elaborate religious ceremonies that could span decades for a single engine. This ritualistic approach yielded unexpected benefits. The tech priests discovered that certain ceremonial procedures actually improved Titan performance, though they attributed these enhancements to the Omnissiah's favor rather than understanding the underlying scientific principles. The sacred oils used in blessing ceremonies contained rare earth elements that enhanced neural interface conductivity. The ritual chanting during assembly helped identify microfractures in structural components that might otherwise go undetected. During the long isolation of the Age of Strife, Martian forges produced hundreds of Titan engines. These god machines served as the ultimate expression of the Mechanicum's power, towering symbols of their technological supremacy. The largest Titan legions emerged during this period, with some forge complexes maintaining dozens of operational engines. The famous Legio Mortis traced its origins to these dark centuries, as did many other Titan orders that would later serve the Imperium with distinction. The machine spirits inhabiting these Titans represented perhaps the most significant development of the Age of Strife period. Unlike the simple artificial intelligence systems of their predecessors, these entities possessed genuine consciousness and personality. Tech priests theorized that centuries of ritual and prayer had awakened dormant quantum matrices within the Titan's core systems. Each machine spirit developed unique characteristics, preferences, and even emotional responses that reflected their operational history and the personalities of their crews. The relationship between princeps and machine spirit became increasingly sophisticated during this era. Early Titan commanders had simply operated their engines like complex vehicles, relying on manual controls and basic interface systems. As the machine spirits evolved, however, they began forming genuine partnerships with their human operators. The most successful princeps learned to communicate with their Titans through a combination of neural interface technology and intuitive understanding, creating bonds that could span centuries. These developments culminated in the creation of the Collegia Titanica, the formal organization governing all Titan operations within the Mechanicum. The Collegia established standardized training protocols for princeps candidates, developed maintenance procedures for the increasingly complex god machines, and codified the religious observances required for proper Titan operation. By the time the Emperor arrived on Mars, the Collegia Titanica had evolved into a sophisticated military organization capable of deploying hundreds of war engines across multiple theaters of operation. The Treaty of Olympus Mons fundamentally altered the trajectory of Titan development. When the Emperor and the Fabricator General forged their alliance, the Mechanicum's god machines became integral components of the nascent Imperial war machine. The tech priests viewed this partnership as validation of their beliefs, interpreting the Emperor's arrival as the Omnissiah's return to guide humanity toward technological enlightenment. Integration into Imperial military doctrine required significant modifications to existing Titan deployment strategies. The Mechanicum had traditionally employed their god machines as siege engines and defensive platforms, using their massive firepower to break enemy fortifications or protect vital forge complexes. Imperial military commanders, however, recognized the potential for Titans to serve as spearhead units in rapid offensive operations. The Great Crusade's early campaigns demonstrated the devastating effectiveness of properly coordinated Titan assaults. On Proxima Majoris, a single Warlord-class engine broke through fortified positions that had resisted conventional Imperial forces for months. The Titan's plasma annihilator carved through reinforced walls like a blade through parchment, while its void shields deflected the desperate counter-battery fire from enemy artillery positions. Within hours, the entire defensive line collapsed, allowing Imperial forces to advance and secure the planet. These successes led to rapid expansion of Titan production across Mars and its allied forge worlds. The Mechanicum established new Titan legions specifically for Great Crusade operations, each tailored for different combat roles and operational environments. Legio Ignatum specialized in urban warfare, their engines equipped with precision weapon systems ideal for fighting within populated areas. Legio Tempestus focused on rapid deployment operations, using modified Reaver-class Titans that sacrificed armor protection for increased mobility. The integration process also revealed significant challenges in coordinating Titan operations with conventional Imperial forces. The god machines operated on vastly different tactical timescales than infantry or armored units. A Titan's weapon systems could level entire city blocks, making close coordination with friendly forces extremely difficult. Imperial commanders learned to establish clear fire corridors and communication protocols to prevent catastrophic friendly fire incidents. Logistical considerations proved equally complex. Each Titan required massive support infrastructure, including specialized transport vessels, maintenance facilities, and ammunition supplies. a single Warlord-class engine consumed more resources than an entire regiment of Imperial Guard troops. The Mechanicum developed elaborate supply chains stretching across multiple star systems to keep their god machines operational during extended campaigns. The machines' spirits themselves adapted to their new role within the Imperial military structure. Many Titans that had spent centuries in defensive positions on Mars struggled initially with the aggressive tactics demanded by Great Crusade operations. Some machine spirits developed what tech priests termed battle hunger, an insatiable desire for combat that could overwhelm inexperienced princeps. Others became increasingly protective of their human crews, refusing to engage targets that might endanger their operators. These behavioral changes necessitated new training protocols for Titan crews. The Collegia Titanica established combat schools on several Forge worlds, where princeps candidates learned to work with machine spirits under battlefield conditions. The most successful graduates demonstrated not just technical competence, but genuine empathy for their Titans' unique personality and combat preferences. The establishment of formal command structures within the Adeptus Titanicus emerged from necessity during the Great Crusade's expansion. As Titan legions deployed across hundreds of worlds simultaneously, the informal hierarchies that had sufficed during Mars isolation proved inadequate for coordinating massive multi-legion operations. The Collegia Titanica responded by codifying rank structures that balanced the Mechanicum's religious traditions with practical military requirements. At the apex of each Titan legion stands the Princeps Seniorus, a position combining supreme battlefield command with spiritual authority over the legion's machine spirits. Unlike conventional military ranks, advancement to Princeps Seniorus requires not just tactical brilliance but demonstrated communion with multiple god machines. Candidates must successfully interface with at least 3 different Titan classes, proving their neural compatibility across diverse machine spirit personalities. The selection process often spans decades, as prospective commanders rotate between various engines to assess their adaptability and leadership potential. Princeps Seniorus Casca Vorander of Legio Graphonicus exemplified this comprehensive approach to command. Before assuming Legion leadership, Vorander had served as primary operator for 2 Warlord-class engines, a Reaver, and even the notoriously temperamental Warhound, Ferox Venator. Each assignment taught her different aspects of Titan warfare. The Warlords provided experience with siege operations and long-range bombardment, while the Reaver offered lessons in combined arms coordination. The Warhound, with its aggressive machine spirit and rapid strike capabilities, rounded out her tactical education with expertise in reconnaissance and harassment operations. Beneath the Princeps Seniorus, individual god machines operate under the command of their respective princeps. These officers represent the most experienced Titan operators within the Legion, having typically served for decades as Moderati before earning the right to neural interface directly with a machine spirit. The relationship between Princeps and Titan transcends simple mechanical operation, developing into a partnership that can influence both human and artificial consciousness over time. The neural interface process itself requires extensive conditioning and augmentation. Princeps candidates undergo surgical implantation of cerebral shunts, quantum resonance enhancers, and synaptic amplifiers that allow direct communication with Titan systems. The procedure carries significant risks. Failed implantations have resulted in permanent neural damage, catatonic states, or in rare cases, complete personality absorption by the machine spirit. Successful candidates describe the initial interface as overwhelming, with their consciousness suddenly expanded to encompass the Titan's massive sensory array and weapon systems. Each Princeps commands a crew of Moderati specialist operators responsible for specific Titan subsystems. The Moderati Primus typically handles weapon systems and targeting protocols, while additional Moderati manage void shields, locomotion systems, and sensor arrays. This division of responsibilities prevents cognitive overload during combat, allowing the Princeps to focus on tactical decision-making while trusting subordinates to manage technical operations. The most experienced Moderati develop intuitive understanding of their assigned systems, often anticipating mechanical problems before diagnostic systems register anomalies. Training Moderati requires years of intensive study, combining technical education with religious instruction. Candidates must master the sacred rituals required for system activation, memorize hundreds of maintenance procedures, and develop the neural discipline necessary for interface operations. The curriculum includes extensive study of machine spirit psychology, as each Titan class exhibits distinct behavioral patterns that affect system performance. Warlord-class engines tend toward methodical, deliberate responses that favor careful planning over rapid reaction. Reaver-class machines often display more aggressive tendencies, pushing their systems harder but requiring more frequent maintenance cycles. Warhound-class Titans present unique challenges for their crews due to their highly active machine spirits and rapid operational tempo. These smaller engines often develop pack-hunting behaviors when operating in pairs, coordinating their movements and attacks with minimal human input. Moderati assigned to Warhound crews must learn to work with this autonomous behavior rather than fighting it, providing guidance and tactical direction while allowing the machine spirits considerable operational freedom. The integration of tech priests into Titan operations reflects the Mechanicum's fundamental belief that technology and faith are inseparable. Each Titan Legion includes dedicated tech priest contingents responsible for maintenance, repair, and spiritual guidance of the god machines. These tech priests hold ranks parallel to but distinct from the command hierarchy, with Magos-level adepts overseeing multiple engines, while junior tech marines handle routine maintenance tasks. Tech Priest Dominus Zerath 9 of Legio Mortis demonstrated the crucial role these specialists play in Titan operations during the Ulanor campaign, when the Warlord-class engine, Mortis Metallica, suffered critical plasma reactor damage during the assault on Greenskin fortifications. Conventional repair protocols would have required the Titan's withdrawal from combat for several days. Zerath 9 instead performed emergency field repairs while under fire, rerouting power systems, and implementing temporary containment measures that kept the engine operational. His modifications not only saved the Titan, but actually improved its power output, leading to adoption of his techniques across the entire Legion. The relationship between tech priests and Titan crews requires careful balance between technical expertise and operational necessity. Tech priests often advocate for conservative operational parameters to preserve their charge's mechanical integrity, while Princeps and Moderati push for maximum performance during combat operations. The most successful legions develop collaborative relationships where both groups respect each other's expertise and priorities. Skitarii formations provide essential ground support for Titan operations, serving as scouts, security details, and technical support personnel. These cybernetically enhanced soldiers understand the sacred nature of their role, viewing service alongside god machines as the highest honor achievable within the Mechanicum's military hierarchy. Skitarii units assigned to Titan legions receive specialized training in urban warfare, defensive operations, and technical support procedures that conventional Skitarii forces rarely encounter. The organizational structure of Skitarii support varies significantly between different Forge worlds and their associated Titan legions. Mars-based legions typically deploy full Skitarii cohorts with each Titan maniple, providing comprehensive ground support, including reconnaissance elements, heavy weapons teams, and technical specialists. Forge worlds with limited manufacturing capacity often assign smaller Skitarii detachments focused on specific support roles, relying on Imperial Army units to provide additional infantry support when necessary. Forge world allegiances create complex political dynamics within the Adeptus Titanicus that extend far beyond simple military hierarchy. Each major Forge world maintains its own Titan legions, and these relationships often reflect ancient rivalries, technological disputes, or resource competition dating back to the Age of Strife. The rivalry between Legio Mortis of Mars and Legio Tempestus of Lucius exemplifies these tensions, with both legions claiming superior tactical doctrine and more advanced technology. These political undercurrents influence everything from deployment assignments to equipment allocation. Forge worlds jealously guard their most advanced technologies, often refusing to share innovations with rival installations, even when such cooperation would benefit overall Imperial military effectiveness. The plasma cannon variants developed by Rise's tech priests remained exclusive to Legio Honorum for decades before political pressure from Terra forced technology sharing with other legions. Competition between Forge worlds extends to recruitment practices, with each installation seeking to attract the most promising Princeps candidates and technical specialists. Mars leverages its status as the primary Forge world to recruit from across the galaxy, while smaller installations often focus on developing local talent or forming alliances with specific Imperial military units. These recruitment patterns create distinct cultural characteristics within different legions, influencing everything from tactical preferences to religious observances. Command protocols within Titan legions reflect both military necessity and mechanicum religious doctrine. The sacred nature of god machines requires specific ceremonial procedures before major operations, including blessing rituals, machine spirit communion ceremonies, and technical system sanctification. These protocols serve practical purposes beyond their religious significance. The pre-operation ceremonies provide opportunities for final system checks, crew coordination, and tactical planning that might otherwise be overlooked in the rush to deploy. Vox network communications between Titans employ sophisticated encryption protocols and sacred cant frequencies that prevent enemy interception while maintaining spiritual purity. Each legion develops unique communication codes based on their Forge world's theological interpretations and technical capabilities. The cant codes used by Legio Ignatum incorporate mathematical formulae sacred to their home Forge world of Lucius, while Legio Gryphonicus employs harmonic frequencies that resonate with their engine-specific machine spirit characteristics. Battlefield coordination between multiple god machines requires careful orchestration of movement, targeting, and support operations. Titan legions typically deploy in maniple formations consisting of 3 to 5 engines, with each maniple assigned specific tactical objectives and operational zones. The lead Titan, usually commanded by the most experienced Princeps, coordinates the maniple's movements and target selection, while individual engines maintain tactical flexibility to respond to immediate threats. The coordination challenges multiply exponentially when multiple maniples operate in the same theater. Overlapping weapon ranges, shared target priorities, and movement coordination require constant communication between Princeps and their supporting elements. The most successful Legion commanders develop standardized tactical doctrines that allow subordinate units to operate effectively with minimal direct oversight, freeing senior commanders to focus on strategic decision-making rather than tactical micromanagement. Advanced legions employ sophisticated battlefield management systems that integrate Titan sensors, Skitarii reconnaissance reports, and orbital surveillance data into comprehensive tactical displays. These systems allow Princeps to track friendly and enemy positions across vast battlefields while identifying optimal firing positions and movement corridors. The data processing requirements for these systems often exceed the capacity of individual Titan cogitators, requiring dedicated support vehicles and technical personnel to maintain operational effectiveness. The psychological aspects of Titan command present unique challenges that conventional military training cannot address. The neural interface process creates intimate connections between human consciousness and machine intelligence that can profoundly affect both participants. Experienced Princeps often report difficulty distinguishing between their own thoughts and input from their Titan's machine spirit, particularly during extended operations or high-stress combat situations. This psychological integration can enhance combat effectiveness by allowing near instantaneous responses to tactical situations, but it also creates risks of personality drift or complete neural absorption. The Collegia Titanica maintains strict monitoring protocols for all interface personnel, including regular psychological evaluations and mandatory rest periods between operations. Cases of complete personality absorption, while rare, serve as sobering reminders of the dangers inherent in human-machine interface technology. The hierarchical classification of Imperial Titans reflects both practical battlefield requirements and the sacred traditions established during the Dark Age of technology. Each class serves distinct tactical roles, from rapid reconnaissance operations to devastating siege warfare, with their design philosophies shaped by millennia of combat experience and technological refinement. The smaller classes, particularly Scout and Battle Titans, form the operational backbone of most Titan legions, providing the flexibility and responsiveness that larger engines cannot match in dynamic battlefield conditions. Warhound Scout Titans represent the most numerous and tactically versatile engines within the Adeptus Titanicus. Standing approximately 22 meters tall and massing between 400 and 600 tons depending on configuration, these agile war machines embody the principle that speed and precision often prove more valuable than raw firepower. The Warhound's distinctive hunched posture and forward-swept weapon mounts create a predatory silhouette that has become synonymous with rapid strike operations across the galaxy. The structural design of Warhound-class engines prioritizes mobility over protection, with their adamantine skeleton built around a lightweight but resilient framework that can withstand the stresses of high-speed maneuvering. The leg assemblies incorporate sophisticated gyroscopic stabilizers and shock absorption systems that allow these Titans to maintain accuracy while moving at speeds approaching 60 kilometers per hour across broken terrain. This mobility advantage proves crucial in reconnaissance roles, where Warhounds must gather intelligence while avoiding engagement with heavier enemy units. Warhound machine spirits exhibit notably aggressive personalities compared to their larger cousins, often displaying pack hunting instincts that manifest during multi-engine operations. Tech priests theorize that the smaller neural matrices within Warhound cogitator cores create more reactive and impulsive artificial consciousnesses, though this characteristic serves their tactical role well. The machine spirits frequently anticipate their princeps' tactical intentions, adjusting targeting solutions and movement patterns with minimal human input during fast-paced engagements. The standard armament configuration for Warhound Titans centers on twin weapon mounts positioned on the engine's shoulders, allowing for diverse loadout combinations tailored to specific mission requirements. Plasma blasters provide devastating short-range firepower, capable of melting through heavy armor and fortified positions, while turbo laser destructors offer precision long-range engagement capabilities. Vulcan mega bolters deliver sustained suppressive fire against infantry formations and light vehicles, their rapid fire capability proving particularly effective in urban warfare environments. More specialized weapon systems expand the Warhound's tactical flexibility beyond standard configurations. Inferno cannons transform these engines into close assault specialists, projecting streams of superheated promethium that can clear entire building complexes of enemy infantry. The rare graviton pulsar represents cutting-edge Dark Age technology, generating localized gravity distortions that can crush armored vehicles or collapse structural foundations. Each weapon system requires specific training protocols and maintenance procedures, with many Warhound crews specializing in particular configurations throughout their service careers. The reconnaissance capabilities of Warhound Titans extend far beyond simple visual observation, incorporating sophisticated sensor arrays that can penetrate electronic countermeasures and detect hidden enemy positions across vast distances. Auspex scanners provide detailed terrain mapping and structural analysis, while auger arrays can identify specific vehicle types and troop concentrations through electromagnetic signature analysis. This sensor data feeds directly into Legion command networks, providing real-time intelligence that shapes broader tactical decisions. Pack hunting tactics represent the most distinctive aspect of Warhound operations, with pairs or small groups of engines coordinating their attacks to achieve effects far beyond their individual capabilities. A typical pack assault begins with one Warhound drawing enemy attention and return fire while its packmates maneuver to flanking positions. The coordinated attack that follows can overwhelm even heavily armored targets through concentrated firepower from multiple angles, with the engine's machine spirits often coordinating targeting solutions without explicit human direction. The psychological impact of Warhound pack tactics extends beyond their immediate destructive capability, as enemy forces struggle to track and engage multiple fast-moving targets simultaneously. Imperial records from the Proxima campaign describe orc formations breaking and retreating when faced with coordinated Warhound attacks, despite possessing superior numbers and defensive positions. The engine's ability to appear suddenly from unexpected directions, deliver devastating attacks, and withdraw before effective countermeasures can be implemented creates a sense of omnipresent threat that can demoralize entire enemy armies. Logistical considerations for Warhound operations differ significantly from those required by heavier Titan classes, with their smaller size allowing for more flexible deployment options and reduced support requirements. Standard Imperial transport vessels can carry multiple Warhounds simultaneously, enabling rapid deployment to emerging threat zones without the massive infrastructure required for Warlord or Emperor-class engines. This deployment flexibility makes Warhounds ideal for expeditionary operations and rapid response missions where larger engines would prove impractical. Reaver Battle Titans occupy the crucial middle ground between the agility of Scout Titans and the overwhelming firepower of heavy siege engines. These versatile war machines stand approximately 33 meters tall and mass between 800 and 1,200 tons, providing an optimal balance of mobility, protection, and destructive capability that has made them the backbone of most Titan Legion operations. The Reaver's proportioned silhouette and cathedral-like superstructure embody the Imperial aesthetic while housing weapon systems capable of engaging any target on the battlefield. The structural engineering of Reaver-class engines reflects lessons learned from millennia of combat operations, with their adamantine chassis designed to accommodate diverse weapon configurations while maintaining structural integrity under extreme combat stress. The torso assembly features modular mounting points that allow rapid reconfiguration of primary armament systems, enabling individual engines to adapt their capabilities to changing tactical requirements. This modularity extends to secondary systems, with void shield generators, sensor arrays, and auxiliary equipment readily swappable between maintenance cycles. Reaver machine spirits typically exhibit more measured personalities than their Warhound counterparts, displaying tactical patience and strategic thinking that complements their role as primary battle line engines. These artificial consciousnesses often develop strong preferences for particular weapon configurations and tactical approaches, with experienced princeps learning to work with rather than against these inclinations. The larger neural matrices within Reaver cogitator cores support more sophisticated decision-making processes, allowing these machine spirits to analyze complex tactical situations and suggest optimal responses to their human operators. The primary armament options for Reaver Titans encompass virtually every weapon system within the Adeptus Titanicus arsenal, from rapid-fire Gatling blasters to Apocalypse missile launchers capable of leveling entire city blocks. The standard configuration typically includes a carapace-mounted weapon system for long-range engagement, complemented by arm-mounted weapons optimized for different tactical roles. Turbo laser destructors provide precise long-range fire support, while volcano cannons deliver devastating single-shot capability against heavily armored targets. Plasma weaponry represents perhaps the most iconic armament choice for Reaver Titans, with plasma cannons and plasma blast guns offering tremendous destructive potential at the cost of increased maintenance requirements and operational risks. The superheated plasma streams generated by these weapons can penetrate virtually any armor and reduce fortified positions to molten slag, but the extreme temperatures and magnetic containment systems require constant monitoring and frequent component replacement. Experienced Reaver crews develop intuitive understanding of their plasma system's operational parameters, recognizing subtle changes in containment field stability or plasma flow rates that might indicate impending system failures. The versatility of Reaver battle titans makes them ideal for combined arms operations, where they must coordinate with conventional Imperial forces while maintaining their own tactical effectiveness. Their intermediate size allows them to operate in urban environments too confined for larger engines, while possessing sufficient firepower to engage heavy enemy units that might overwhelm smaller titans. This flexibility has made Reavers the preferred choice for planetary assault operations, where tactical conditions can change rapidly and unpredictably. Battlefield coordination protocols for Reaver operations emphasize their role as anchor points for broader tactical formations, with other Imperial units maneuvering to support and exploit the opportunities created by Reaver firepower. Infantry formations often advance behind Reaver shields, using the Titan's void barriers for protection while closing to assault range. Armored units coordinate their attacks with Reaver targeting solutions, striking enemy positions weakened by Titan bombardment or exploiting gaps created by concentrated fire. The void shield systems employed by Reaver Titans represent sophisticated defensive technology that can deflect or absorb tremendous amounts of incoming fire before collapsing. These energy barriers project several meters beyond the Titan's physical structure, creating protective envelopes that can stop everything from small arms fire to heavy artillery shells. The shield generators draw enormous amounts of power from the Titan's plasma reactor, requiring careful energy management during extended engagements to prevent system overloads or reactor instability. Shield management during combat operations requires constant attention from Maserati operators, who must balance defensive requirements against offensive firepower and mobility needs. Overloaded shields require several seconds to regenerate, leaving the Titan vulnerable to concentrated enemy fire during critical moments. Experienced crews learn to time their shield usage carefully, allowing barriers to collapse deliberately during lulls in enemy fire to preserve generator capacity for crucial defensive moments. Warbringer Nemesis Titans represent specialized siege engines designed specifically for breaking heavily fortified positions and engaging enemy super heavy units at extreme ranges. These imposing war machines stand approximately 35 meters tall and incorporate unique weapon configurations not found on other Titan classes, making them invaluable assets for prolonged siege operations and defensive warfare. The Warbringer's distinctive silhouette features an enlarged torso section housing massive weapon systems and the additional power generation capacity required to operate them effectively. The development of Warbringer-class engines emerged from tactical lessons learned during the Great Crusade's most challenging siege operations, where conventional Titan classes struggled to effectively engage heavily fortified positions or enemy Titans at maximum range. The Mechanicum's response involved designing a specialized platform optimized for long-range precision fire, incorporating targeting systems and weapon stabilization technology that surpassed anything previously deployed on battlefield engines. The signature weapon system of Warbringer Nemesis Titans is the Quake Cannon, a massive artillery piece capable of delivering seismic shock waves that can collapse underground bunkers and topple defensive walls from distances exceeding 50 kilometers. The cannon's shells incorporate specialized warheads that transfer their kinetic energy directly into geological structures, creating localized earthquakes that can devastate entire fortress complexes. The targeting systems required for such extreme range precision incorporate astronomical calculation engines and atmospheric analysis cogitators that continuously adjust firing solutions for environmental variables. Secondary armament systems on Warbringer Titans focus on anti-armor capabilities and defensive fire, with volcano cannons providing devastating single-shot potential against enemy Titans or super heavy vehicles. Laser blaster arrays offer rapid fire capability against lighter targets, while missile launcher systems can engage multiple targets simultaneously across wide areas. The integration of these diverse weapon systems requires sophisticated fire control cogitators that can prioritize targets and coordinate firing sequences to maximize tactical effect. The operational deployment of Warbringer Titans differs significantly from other Titan classes, with these engines typically positioned in prepared firing positions where their long-range capabilities can be fully utilized. The extensive preparation required for Warbringer operations includes detailed terrain analysis, ammunition stockpiling, and construction of reinforced firing platforms capable of absorbing the tremendous recoil forces generated by their primary weapons. These preparations often take days or weeks to complete, making Warbringers unsuitable for rapid deployment operations. Comparative analysis of armor protection across Scout and Battle Titan classes reveals significant differences in defensive philosophy and battlefield survivability. Warhound Scout Titans sacrifice armor thickness for mobility, with their frontal armor plates measuring approximately 150 millimeters of bonded ceramite and adamantine composite. This protection proves adequate against small arms fire and light anti-armor weapons, but cannot withstand sustained fire from heavy weapons or direct hits from Titan-class armaments. Reaver Battle Titans feature substantially heavier armor protection, with frontal plates reaching 300–400 millimeters thickness and incorporating multiple layers of different materials optimized for specific threat types. The outer layer consists of ablative ceramite designed to dissipate energy weapons, while inner adamantine plates provide structural protection against kinetic penetrators. Side and rear armor sections measure somewhat less, but still provide comprehensive protection against most battlefield threats. Warbringer Nemesis Titans incorporate the heaviest armor protection among Battle Titan classes, with frontal sections reaching 450–500 millimeters thickness and specialized reinforcement around critical systems. The additional armor mass reflects their role as siege engines expected to operate under sustained counter-battery fire from enemy artillery and anti-Titan weapons. The armor configuration also includes specialized blast dampening systems designed to protect internal components from the shock waves generated by their own weapons. Void shield capacity varies dramatically between Titan classes, with Scout Titans typically mounting single generator systems providing basic protection against light weapons fire. The power requirements for Void shield operation compete directly with mobility systems, forcing Warhound crews to choose between maximum speed and defensive protection during tactical operations. Most Warhound princeps prefer to rely on speed and agility rather than shield strength, using their barriers primarily to deflect incidental fire during high-speed maneuvers. Reaver Battle Titan's standard configuration includes dual void shield generators providing overlapping protective coverage and redundant defensive capability. The shields can operate independently or in coordinated modes that concentrate protective strength in specific directions, allowing crews to adapt their defensive posture to immediate tactical requirements. The larger power generation capacity of Reaver-class engines supports sustained shield operation without compromising weapon systems or mobility. Warbringer Titans typically mount triple void shield arrays with specialized generator configurations optimized for deflecting incoming artillery fire and long-range weapons. The shield systems incorporate predictive targeting algorithms that can anticipate incoming projectiles and concentrate defensive energy at optimal interception points. This sophisticated defensive capability proves essential for engines that must remain stationary for extended periods while conducting siege operations. Tactical deployment strategies for these Titan classes reflect their distinct capabilities and operational limitations, with successful Legion commanders learning to coordinate different engine types to achieve synergistic effects. Warhound packs typically deploy as screening forces and reconnaissance elements, using their speed and sensor capabilities to identify enemy positions and weaknesses before heavier units commit to engagement. Their ability to strike rapidly and withdraw makes them ideal for harassment operations and flank security missions. Reaver Battle Titans serve as the primary striking force for most Legion operations, providing the combination of firepower and durability necessary for sustained combat operations. Their deployment typically focuses on key tactical objectives, where their versatile weapon systems can engage diverse target types, while their void shields provide protection for supporting units. The flexibility of Reaver armament allows individual engines to adapt their role during battle, switching between anti-armor, anti-infantry, and siege configurations as tactical requirements change. Warbringer Nemesis Titans require careful integration into broader tactical plans due to their specialized capabilities and deployment limitations. Their extreme range firepower makes them invaluable for siege operations and defensive warfare, but their limited mobility and extensive preparation requirements mean they cannot respond quickly to changing tactical situations. Successful deployment of Warbringer engines requires detailed intelligence about enemy positions and defensive capabilities, along with comprehensive planning for ammunition supply and defensive security. The coordination between different Titan classes during combined operations requires sophisticated command and control systems that can integrate their diverse capabilities while accounting for their individual limitations. Mixed-class maniples typically assign specific roles and operational zones to each engine type, with Warhounds providing reconnaissance and flank security, while Reavers engage primary targets and Warbringers provide long-range fire support. The success of such operations depends heavily on communication systems that can coordinate timing and targeting across engines with vastly different operational characteristics and response times. The transition from battle titans to the truly colossal god machines represents more than simple scaling of existing technology. It marks the entry into a realm where engineering achievement borders on the miraculous. Warlord Battle Titans, standing 45 meters tall and massing between 2,000 and 2,500 tons, embody the pinnacle of what the Mechanicum considers practical battlefield deployment. These towering engines combine devastating firepower with sophisticated defensive systems and tactical flexibility that has made them the backbone of heavy Titan operations across the galaxy for over 10 millennia. The structural architecture of Warlord-class engines reflects millennia of refinement in heavy Titan design, with their adamantine skeleton built around a central torso assembly capable of mounting the largest weapon systems in the Adeptus Titanicus arsenal. The characteristic cathedral-like superstructure houses not only the primary weapon mounts, but also the extensive power distribution networks, ammunition storage systems, and cogitator arrays required to coordinate the engine's diverse systems. The iconic twin weapon arms can accommodate virtually any Titan-scale armament, while the carapace mounting points support additional weapon systems that transform these engines into mobile artillery platforms. Warlord machine spirits display notably different characteristics from their smaller cousins, exhibiting what tech priests describe as contemplative aggression, a measured approach to combat that emphasizes tactical analysis over immediate response. These artificial consciousnesses possess neural matrices of sufficient complexity to process multiple tactical scenarios simultaneously, often presenting their princeps with detailed analysis of battlefield conditions and recommended engagement strategies. The machine's spirits frequently develop strong preferences for particular tactical doctrines, with some favoring long-range bombardment, while others prefer close-quarters devastation. The weapon configurations available to Warlord Titans encompass the full spectrum of Imperial heavy weapons technology, from precision laser systems to area denial munitions capable of rendering entire regions uninhabitable. Plasma annihilators represent perhaps the most feared armament option, generating contained stellar core temperatures that can vaporize entire building complexes or melt through the heaviest armor plating. The weapon's primary firing chamber reaches temperatures exceeding those found in stellar cores, requiring exotic matter containment systems and cooling arrays that occupy significant portions of the Titan's internal volume. The operational characteristics of plasma annihilators demand exceptional skill from their operators, as the weapon's tremendous power output creates cascading effects throughout the Titan systems. Firing sequences must be carefully coordinated with void shield operations, as the weapon's energy discharge can overload defensive barriers if improperly timed. The heat generated by sustained fire requires active cooling systems that draw power from the primary reactor, forcing crews to balance offensive capability against defensive protection and mobility requirements. Volcano cannons provide Warlord Titans with devastating single-shot capability against the heaviest targets, launching projectiles with sufficient kinetic energy to penetrate fortress walls or destroy enemy Titans with direct hits. The weapon's massive bore diameter allows for diverse ammunition types, from standard high-explosive shells to specialized penetrator rounds designed specifically for anti-Titan warfare. The most feared variant employs Meltacore warheads that combine kinetic impact with thermal devastation, creating localized fusion reactions that can breach even void-shielded targets. The targeting systems required for effective volcano cannon operation incorporate predictive algorithms that calculate projectile trajectories across extreme ranges while accounting for atmospheric conditions, target movement, and gravitational effects. The weapon's tremendous recoil forces require specialized mounting systems and structural reinforcement throughout the Titan's frame, with shock absorption mechanisms that distribute the impact across multiple structural points to prevent catastrophic damage to the engine itself. Apocalypse missile launchers transform Warlord Titans into strategic bombardment platforms capable of engaging multiple targets across vast areas simultaneously. These sophisticated weapon systems house dozens of guided missiles with diverse warhead configurations, from conventional high-explosive rounds to exotic ammunition types including virus bombs, plasma warheads, and gravitational implosion devices. The launcher's automated loading systems can cycle through different ammunition types rapidly, allowing crews to adapt their firepower to changing tactical requirements without manual intervention. The guidance systems employed by Apocalypse missiles incorporate artificial intelligence routines that can identify and prioritize targets independently, reducing the computational burden on Titan crews during complex engagements. Advanced missiles can coordinate their attack patterns to overwhelm enemy defensive systems, with some variants capable of loitering over target areas while awaiting optimal engagement opportunities. The most sophisticated rounds include countermeasure systems designed to defeat enemy electronic warfare attempts and ensure successful target engagement. Turbo laser destructors provide Warlord Titans with precision long-range capability that can engage individual targets with surgical accuracy across distances exceeding 30 kilometers. The weapon's coherent energy beam can maintain lethal intensity across these extreme ranges, making it ideal for counter-battery operations against enemy artillery or precision strikes against critical infrastructure. The laser's focusing arrays incorporate crystalline matrices grown in zero-gravity environments, creating optical elements of unprecedented clarity and power-handling capacity. The versatility of Warlord armament extends beyond primary weapon systems to include sophisticated defensive and utility equipment that enhances the engine's battlefield survivability and tactical effectiveness. Power fists and chain fists allow these massive engines to engage in close combat when necessary, with hydraulic systems capable of generating crushing forces measured in thousands of tons per square centimeter. These melee weapons prove particularly effective during urban warfare operations, where conventional weapons might cause excessive collateral damage to civilian infrastructure. Warmaster Heavy Battle Titans represent the apex of conventional Titan design, standing 50 meters tall and incorporating weapon systems that push the boundaries of what can be practically deployed on a mobile platform. These rare and powerful engines exist in extremely limited numbers, with fewer than a dozen confirmed operational units across all Titan legions. The Warmaster's massive frame supports weapon configurations that would be impossible on smaller engines, including multiple Apocalypse missile launchers and Plasma Annihilator arrays that can devastate entire armies in coordinated salvos. The development history of War Master-class engines traces back to the darkest periods of the Horus Heresy, when both loyalist and traitor forces sought to create ultimate siege engines capable of breaking the most heavily defended positions. The enormous resource requirements for War Master construction meant that only the most critical strategic objectives justified their deployment, with individual engines often determining the outcome of entire campaigns through their overwhelming firepower advantage. War Master machine spirits exhibit unique characteristics that reflect their role as supreme battlefield commanders, with artificial consciousnesses sophisticated enough to coordinate multiple subordinate titans and analyze strategic-level tactical situations. These machine spirits often develop what tech priests term strategic patience, an ability to delay immediate tactical gains in favor of longer-term strategic advantages. The neural matrices within War Master cogitator cores approach the complexity of those found in Imperator-class engines, though their focus remains primarily tactical rather than strategic. The primary armament systems of War Master Titans center around paired weapon configurations that provide devastating firepower while maintaining the tactical flexibility essential for siege operations. Twin plasma annihilators can generate coordinated energy discharges capable of breaching fortress walls or vaporizing entire enemy formations, while paired volcano cannons provide the kinetic impact necessary to collapse underground bunkers or destroy heavily armored targets. The synchronization systems required for coordinated firing incorporate quantum entanglement communicators that ensure perfect timing between weapon systems regardless of electromagnetic interference. Carapace-mounted weapon systems on War Master Titans typically include multiple Apocalypse missile launchers configured for different tactical roles, with some optimized for anti-personnel operations, while others focus on anti-armor or anti-fortification missions. The launcher systems can coordinate their fire to create devastating barrage patterns that saturate target areas with overlapping explosions, or concentrate their firepower against single high-value targets to ensure complete destruction. The logistical requirements for War Master operations exceed those of any other conventional Titan class, with individual engines requiring dedicated supply fleets and specialized maintenance facilities that can accommodate their massive scale and complex systems. The ammunition consumption rates during sustained combat operations can exhaust entire Forge World production capacities, making War Master deployment a strategic decision that must account for long-term resource allocation and supply chain security. Imperator-class Titans transcend the boundaries between war machine and mobile fortress, representing the ultimate expression of Imperial military engineering and the sacred mysteries of the Omnissiah. These colossal god machines stand between 55 and 70 meters tall depending on configuration, with some variants reaching even greater heights when equipped with specialized weapon systems or command facilities. The Imperator's massive bulk, measuring over 100 meters in length and weighing between 8,000 and 15,000 tons, requires specialized transport vessels and deployment infrastructure that exists only at major Forge Worlds and strategic military installations. The internal architecture of Imperator Titans resembles that of small cities more than conventional vehicles, with multiple decks housing thousands of crew members, extensive manufacturing facilities, and even residential quarters for long-term deployments. The command deck alone spans several hundred square meters, incorporating tactical displays, communication arrays, and strategic planning facilities that rival those found aboard Imperial Navy battleships. These mobile command centers can coordinate entire army groups while simultaneously engaging enemy forces with their own devastating weapon systems. Imperator machine spirits represent the most sophisticated artificial consciousnesses ever created by human technology, with neural matrices that approach the complexity of human brains while maintaining the computational speed and analytical capability of advanced cogitator systems. These machine spirits often develop distinct personalities that reflect decades or centuries of operational experience, with some displaying tactical preferences, emotional responses, and even what appears to be genuine creativity in problem-solving approaches. The relationship between Imperator Princeps and their machine spirits transcends simple operator-machine interaction, evolving into partnerships that can influence strategic decision-making at the highest levels of Imperial military command. The most experienced Imperator crews report communication with their machine spirits through methods that border on telepathic, with the artificial consciousness providing tactical insights and strategic analysis that human commanders might overlook or fail to process quickly enough for battlefield application. The primary armament configurations of Imperator Titans vary dramatically between individual engines, with each machine customized for specific strategic roles and operational requirements. The most common configuration includes paired plasma annihilators or volcano cannons as primary weapons, supplemented by multiple turbo laser destructors, apocalypse missile launchers, and defensive weapon systems. The weapon mounting systems incorporate sophisticated recoil compensation and targeting stabilization technology that allows accurate fire even while the Titan is in motion across difficult terrain. Hellstorm cannons represent unique Imperator-class weapons that combine the rapid fire capability of Gatling systems with the destructive potential of plasma technology. These massive weapons can maintain sustained fire rates that exceed those of entire artillery regiments, while generating plasma streams hot enough to melt through heavy armor or fortified positions. The ammunition requirements for sustained Hellstorm operation require dedicated supply systems and automated loading mechanisms that operate continuously during combat engagements. Quake cannons mounted on Imperator chassis achieve destructive potential that surpasses even those found on Warbringer Titans, with enhanced targeting systems and more powerful propellant charges that extend their effective range beyond 60 kilometers. The seismic effects generated by Imperator quake cannons can trigger geological instabilities across vast areas, potentially causing landslides, structural collapses, or even localized earthquakes that affect entire battlefield regions. The defensive systems employed by Imperator Titans incorporate multiple layers of protection that begin with Void Shield, arrays powerful enough to deflect battleship-grade weapons. The standard configuration includes 6 or more Void Shield generators operating in coordinated patterns that can concentrate defensive energy against specific threats or distribute protection across the engine's entire profile. The shield systems incorporate predictive algorithms that can anticipate incoming fire and adjust protective coverage automatically, reducing the burden on human operators during intense combat situations. The armor protection of Imperator Titans reaches thicknesses exceeding 800 millimeters in critical areas, with specialized composite materials that incorporate rare elements and exotic alloys unavailable to smaller Titan classes. The armor configuration includes multiple layers optimized for different threat types, with outer ablative sections designed to dissipate energy weapons, while inner structural plates provide protection against kinetic penetrators and explosive warheads. Imperator Titans serve dual roles as supreme battlefield weapons and mobile command centers, with their extensive communication arrays and strategic planning facilities allowing them to coordinate military operations across multiple star systems simultaneously. The command facilities include hololithic tactical displays that can project real-time battlefield conditions across areas spanning entire continents, while quantum communication systems maintain contact with Imperial forces throughout local stellar regions. The crew requirements for Imperator operation include hundreds of specialists ranging from weapon operators and technical maintenance personnel to strategic analysts and communication specialists. The most senior crew members often hold ranks equivalent to Imperial Guard generals or Navy admirals, reflecting the strategic importance of these engines and their role in coordinating major military campaigns. The crew quarters include recreational facilities, medical centers, and even small shrines and chapels that allow personnel to maintain morale and spiritual focus during extended deployments. The deployment patterns for these massive god machines reflect their strategic rather than tactical nature, with Imperator Titans typically assigned to critical campaign objectives, where their overwhelming firepower and command capabilities can influence the outcome of entire wars. The preparation required for Imperator deployment includes detailed logistical planning, specialized transport arrangements, and coordination with multiple Imperial military branches to ensure effective integration with broader strategic objectives. The psychological impact of Imperator Titans extends far beyond their immediate destructive capability, with enemy forces often surrendering or retreating when faced with these colossal engines rather than attempting direct engagement. Imperial propaganda services have extensively documented the morale effects of Imperator deployment, noting significant improvements in friendly force effectiveness and corresponding degradation of enemy combat performance in theaters where these god machines operate. The devastating arsenal carried by Imperial Titans represents the pinnacle of human weapons technology, incorporating design principles and manufacturing techniques that stretch back to the dark age of technology. Each weapon system mounted on these god machines embodies millennia of refinement, combining raw destructive power with sophisticated targeting systems and reliability mechanisms that must function under the extreme conditions of Titan-scale warfare. The primary armaments alone possess firepower equivalent to entire artillery regiments, while secondary systems provide the tactical flexibility necessary for engaging diverse target types across complex battlefield environments. Plasma destructors stand among the most feared weapons in the Imperial arsenal, channeling the fundamental forces that power stars into coherent streams of superheated matter, capable of reducing entire city blocks to molten slag. The weapon's primary firing chamber contains magnetic confinement fields that compress hydrogen isotopes to densities approaching those found in stellar cores, triggering fusion reactions that generate temperatures exceeding 10 million degrees Celsius. The resulting plasma stream maintains its coherence across distances of several kilometers through sophisticated magnetic focusing systems that require constant adjustment to account for atmospheric conditions and electromagnetic interference. The engineering challenges involved in plasma destructor construction demand materials and manufacturing techniques available only to the most advanced forge worlds. The confinement chamber walls consist of layered adamantine and ceramite composites infused with rare earth elements that can withstand the tremendous thermal and magnetic stresses generated during firing sequences. The magnetic field generators employ superconducting coils cooled by liquid helium systems that operate at temperatures approaching absolute zero, creating the extreme temperature differential necessary for stable plasma confinement. Operational protocols for plasma destructors require extensive crew training and constant vigilance, as the weapon's tremendous power output creates cascading effects throughout the Titan systems that can overwhelm inexperienced operators. The firing sequence begins with a 30-second charging cycle, during which the confinement fields gradually compress the fusion fuel, while power systems throughout the engine redirect energy from non-essential systems to support the weapon's enormous requirements. The actual discharge lasts only milliseconds, but the thermal bloom generated by the plasma stream can damage nearby friendly units and requires careful coordination with supporting forces. The destructive effects of plasma destructor impacts vary dramatically depending on target composition and environmental conditions, with the superheated plasma capable of vaporizing organic matter instantly while melting through the heaviest armor plating within seconds. Fortified positions offer little protection against direct plasma strikes, as the extreme temperatures can cause structural materials to undergo phase transitions that compromise their integrity even when the plasma stream itself doesn't achieve direct penetration. The weapon proves particularly devastating against enemy Titans, as plasma impacts can overload void shield generators and cause catastrophic damage to internal systems through thermal shock waves. Turbo laser destructors provide Titan crews with precision engagement capability that can eliminate individual targets at extreme ranges while minimizing collateral damage to surrounding areas. These sophisticated energy weapons employ crystalline focusing matrices grown in zero-gravity environments to achieve beam coherence levels impossible with conventional laser technology. The primary laser chamber generates coherent light through stimulated emission processes that amplify photon streams to intensities capable of cutting through heavy armor plating or vaporizing entire vehicle crews through thermal shock. The targeting systems integrated with turbo laser destructors incorporate quantum processing elements that can calculate firing solutions for moving targets across distances exceeding 20 kilometers while accounting for atmospheric distortion, gravitational effects, and electromagnetic interference. The weapon's gimbal mounting systems employ servo motors precise enough to maintain target lock on individual personnel at maximum range, though such precision targeting requires several seconds of steady aim that can leave the firing Titan vulnerable to counter battery fire from enemy heavy weapons. Ammunition considerations for turbo laser destructors center around power cell management and focusing crystal maintenance rather than conventional projectile supplies. The weapon's energy requirements during sustained fire can drain even Titan-scale power systems within minutes, forcing crews to balance offensive firepower against defensive shield strength and mobility requirements. The focusing crystals gradually degrade under repeated high-energy discharges, developing microscopic fractures that reduce beam coherence and require replacement after extended combat operations. Volcano cannons represent the ultimate expression of kinetic weapons technology, launching projectiles with sufficient velocity and mass to penetrate fortress walls or destroy enemy Titans through sheer impact force. The weapon's massive bore diameter allows for diverse ammunition types, ranging from conventional high-explosive shells to specialized penetrator rounds designed specifically for anti-Titan warfare. The most devastating variants employ melt-to-core warheads that combine kinetic impact with thermal effects, creating localized fusion reactions that can breach even void shielded targets through combined kinetic and thermal damage. The ballistic characteristics of volcano cannon projectiles require sophisticated fire control systems that can calculate trajectories across extreme ranges while accounting for atmospheric drag, gravitational drop, and target movement patterns. The weapon's tremendous recoil forces demand specialized mounting systems and structural reinforcement throughout the Titan's frame, with shock absorption mechanisms that distribute impact across multiple structural points to prevent catastrophic damage to the engine itself. The recoil management systems employ hydraulic dampeners and magnetic field generators that can reduce felt recoil by up to 70% while maintaining firing accuracy. Loading mechanisms for volcano cannons incorporate automated systems capable of cycling between different ammunition types without manual intervention, allowing crews to adapt their firepower to changing tactical requirements within seconds. The ammunition storage systems typically house between 12 and 20 rounds depending on Titan class and configuration, with each projectile weighing several tons and requiring specialized handling equipment for safe transport and loading. The most advanced loading systems can select optimal ammunition types automatically based on target analysis data provided by the Titan sensor arrays. Secondary weapon systems provide Titan crews with the tactical flexibility necessary for engaging diverse target types while conserving primary armament ammunition for high-value targets. Gatling blasters epitomize rapid-fire suppression weapons, employing multiple rotating barrels that can maintain sustained fire rates exceeding 3,000 rounds per minute while dissipating the tremendous heat generated by continuous operation. The weapon's ammunition feed systems draw from massive storage hoppers containing tens of thousands of rounds, with automated loading mechanisms that can cycle through different ammunition types including armor-piercing, high-explosive, and incendiary variants. The targeting systems employed by Gatling blasters incorporate predictive algorithms that can engage multiple targets simultaneously while optimizing ammunition expenditure based on target priority and threat assessment. The weapon proves particularly effective against infantry formations and light vehicles, with its high rate of fire capable of saturating large areas with overlapping fields of fire that make survival virtually impossible for unprotected personnel. The psychological impact of Gatling blaster fire often proves as devastating as its physical effects, with the distinctive sound of thousands of rounds per minute creating panic among enemy forces, even when direct casualties remain limited. Megabolters scale up the proven bolt weapon technology, employed throughout Imperial forces to tighten appropriate sizes, firing mass-reactive shells the size of conventional artillery rounds at velocities that generate tremendous kinetic impact upon target contact. Each bolt contains a micro-explosive charge that detonates after penetrating target armor, creating internal damage that can disable vehicles or eliminate entire infantry squads with single hits. The weapon's ammunition feed systems can cycle between different bolt types, including armor-piercing variants designed for engaging heavy vehicles and anti-personnel rounds optimized for area suppression. The reliability characteristics of megabolter systems make them particularly valuable during extended combat operations where maintenance opportunities remain limited. The weapon's mechanical firing mechanisms prove less susceptible to electromagnetic interference and environmental conditions than energy-based systems, while the standardized bolt ammunition can be manufactured at virtually any Imperial facility with basic industrial capacity. The weapon's moderate power requirements allow continuous operation without significantly impacting other Titan systems, making it ideal for sustained suppression fire during prolonged engagements. Apocalypse missile systems transform Titans into mobile artillery platforms capable of engaging multiple targets across vast areas simultaneously through coordinated missile barrages that can saturate entire battlefield sectors. These sophisticated weapon systems house dozens of guided missiles with diverse warhead configurations ranging from conventional high-explosive rounds to exotic ammunition types including virus bombs, plasma warheads, and gravitational implosion devices. The launcher systems employ automated loading mechanisms that can cycle through different missile types rapidly, allowing crews to adapt their firepower to changing tactical requirements without manual intervention. The guidance systems employed by Apocalypse missiles incorporate artificial intelligence, routines sophisticated enough to identify and prioritize targets independently while coordinating attack patterns with other missiles to overwhelm enemy defensive systems. Advanced missile variants can loiter over target areas for extended periods while awaiting optimal engagement opportunities, using onboard sensor systems to track enemy movements and identify high-value targets as they become available. The most sophisticated rounds include countermeasure systems designed to defeat enemy electronic warfare attempts through frequency hopping, decoy deployment, and hardened guidance systems. Launch sequences for Apocalypse missile systems can be programmed for simultaneous or sequential firing patterns depending on tactical requirements, with coordinated barrages capable of overwhelming even sophisticated point defense systems through sheer volume of incoming projectiles. The missile storage systems typically accommodate between 20 and 40 rounds, depending on launcher configuration, with each missile measuring several meters in length and requiring specialized handling equipment for safe transport and loading operations. Void shield generators represent perhaps the most crucial defensive systems mounted on Imperial Titans, projecting energy barriers that can deflect or absorb tremendous amounts of incoming fire before collapsing under sustained bombardment. These sophisticated defensive systems create protective envelopes extending several meters beyond the Titan's physical structure, intercepting incoming projectiles and energy beams before they can impact critical systems or armor plating. The shield generators draw enormous amounts of power from the Titan's plasma reactor, requiring careful energy management during extended engagements to prevent system overloads or reactor instability. The layered protection systems employed by Void shields operate through multiple overlapping energy fields that provide redundant defensive coverage against diverse threat types. The outermost barrier layer focuses on deflecting high-velocity projectiles through electromagnetic field manipulation, while inner layers absorb energy weapon impacts through controlled dissipation across specialized capacitor arrays. The shield systems can operate in coordinated modes that concentrate protective strength in specific directions, allowing crews to adapt their defensive posture to immediate tactical requirements and anticipated threat vectors. Vulnerability windows represent critical operational limitations of void shield systems, as overloaded generators require several seconds to regenerate their protective barriers after collapse. During these brief periods, Titans become vulnerable to concentrated enemy fire that can penetrate armor plating or damage critical systems directly. Experienced crews learn to time their shield usage carefully, allowing barriers to collapse deliberately during lulls in enemy fire to preserve generator capacity for crucial defensive moments when concentrated enemy attacks are anticipated. The regeneration characteristics of void shields vary significantly based on generator type and power availability, with standard systems requiring between 3 and 8 seconds to restore full protective strength after collapse. Advanced shield generators incorporate rapid cycling capacitors that can reduce regeneration times to under 2 seconds, though these systems consume significantly more power and require more frequent maintenance than conventional variants. The shield strength indicators displayed on Titan control systems provide crews with real-time assessment of barrier integrity, allowing tactical decisions about shield management and defensive positioning. Machine spirit targeting systems integrate the artificial consciousness inhabiting each Titan with sophisticated sensor, arrays, and fire control computers to create targeting solutions that exceed purely mechanical systems in both speed and accuracy. The machine spirit's ability to process multiple data streams simultaneously while maintaining awareness of tactical conditions across the entire battlefield allows for target prioritization and engagement sequencing that human operators might overlook or fail to coordinate effectively. These systems prove particularly valuable during complex multi-target engagements, where conventional targeting systems might become overwhelmed by the volume of sensor data and tactical variables. The neural interface systems connecting Princeps and Maserati to their Titan's targeting arrays create direct mental links that allow near instantaneous response to tactical opportunities and threat developments. The machine spirit can present targeting recommendations directly to crew consciousness while simultaneously calculating firing solutions and adjusting weapon systems for optimal engagement parameters. This integration allows experienced crews to engage multiple targets in rapid succession while maintaining situational awareness of broader battlefield conditions that might affect tactical priorities. Auspex arrays provide Titan crews with comprehensive sensor coverage that can penetrate electronic countermeasures and detect hidden enemy positions across distances exceeding 50 kilometers. These sophisticated sensor systems employ multiple detection methods, including electromagnetic spectrum analysis, gravitational field mapping, and quantum resonance scanning that can identify specific vehicle types and troop concentrations through signature analysis. The sensor data feeds directly into Legion command networks through encrypted communication channels, providing real-time intelligence that shapes broader tactical decisions and deployment patterns. The integration of Auspex data with weapon targeting systems allows automatic threat assessment and priority ranking based on enemy unit capabilities and tactical significance. Heavy armor formations receive higher priority ratings than infantry units, while enemy Titans trigger immediate alert protocols that can override other targeting assignments. The sensor systems can track multiple targets simultaneously while predicting movement patterns and optimal engagement windows, providing crews with tactical recommendations that account for ammunition conservation and defensive positioning requirements. Battlefield sensor networks created by multiple Titans operating in coordination provide comprehensive surveillance coverage that can detect enemy movements across entire continental regions. The networked sensor arrays share data through quantum encrypted communication channels that resist enemy electronic warfare attempts while providing redundant coverage that maintains effectiveness even when individual Titans suffer sensor damage or communication disruption. These integrated networks prove particularly valuable during siege operations, where enemy forces might attempt infiltration or flanking maneuvers that individual Titan sensors might miss due to terrain limitations or electromagnetic interference. The data processing requirements for comprehensive sensor network operation often exceed the capacity of individual Titan cogitator systems, requiring distributed processing across multiple engines and dedicated support vehicles to maintain real-time analysis capability. The most advanced Legion deployments incorporate specialized command vehicles equipped with enhanced processing arrays that can coordinate sensor data from dozens of sources, while maintaining tactical displays that present comprehensive battlefield awareness to senior commanders. The selection process for Titan Princeps candidates represents one of the most rigorous and dangerous recruitment programs within the entire Adeptus Mechanicus hierarchy. Unlike conventional military officers who advance through demonstrated tactical competence and leadership ability, prospective Princeps must possess a rare combination of mental fortitude, psychic compatibility, and neural flexibility that allows successful interface with machine spirits possessing consciousness levels approaching human awareness. The Collegia Titanica maintains strict screening protocols that evaluate candidates across multiple psychological, physiological, and spiritual dimensions before permitting even preliminary interface attempts. Mental fortitude requirements extend far beyond simple courage or tactical acumen, encompassing psychological resilience that can withstand the overwhelming sensory input and consciousness expansion inherent in Titan neural interface operations. Candidates undergo extensive psychological evaluation, including stress response testing, sensory overload simulation, and prolonged isolation exercises designed to identify individuals capable of maintaining personal identity while sharing consciousness with artificial intelligences of tremendous sophistication. The failure rate during initial screening exceeds 90%, with many candidates suffering permanent psychological damage from exposure to interface simulation systems. Psychic compatibility testing employs specialized equipment developed specifically for identifying individuals whose neural patterns can successfully synchronize with Titan machine spirits without triggering rejection responses or consciousness conflicts. The testing apparatus incorporates modified mind impulse unit components that create limited interface connections with dormant machine spirit fragments, allowing evaluation of candidate neural resonance patterns and compatibility indices. Successful candidates demonstrate natural harmonic frequencies that align with standard Titan consciousness matrices, while incompatible individuals often experience severe neural feedback that can cause permanent brain damage or catatonic states. The training regimen for accepted Princeps candidates spans multiple years of intensive preparation, combining technical education, religious instruction, and gradual neural conditioning designed to prepare human consciousness for machine interface operations. Initial training phases focus on developing the mental discipline necessary for maintaining individual identity while sharing cognitive space with artificial consciousness, using meditation techniques and consciousness expansion exercises adapted from ancient Terran practices. Advanced candidates progress to limited interface sessions with training cogitators that simulate machine spirit interactions without the risks associated with actual Titan consciousness. Physical conditioning requirements for Princeps training include extensive surgical modification to accommodate the neural interface hardware necessary for direct communication with Titan systems. The implantation process involves installing cerebral shunts, quantum resonance enhancers, and synaptic amplifiers that create direct pathways between human neural tissue and machine cogitator networks. The surgical procedures carry significant mortality rates, with approximately 30% of candidates suffering fatal complications during implantation or the subsequent recovery period. Survivors require months of rehabilitation as their nervous systems adapt to the foreign hardware and learn to process the enhanced sensory input provided by their augmentations. Neural interface conditioning progresses through carefully controlled stages that gradually increase the complexity and intensity of machine-spirit contact, while monitoring candidates for signs of psychological instability or consciousness drift. Early sessions involve contact with simple machine spirits inhabiting maintenance servitors or transport vehicles, allowing candidates to experience artificial consciousness interaction without the overwhelming presence of Titan-class entities. Successful progression through these preliminary stages qualifies candidates for limited contact with dormant Titan machine spirits under heavily supervised conditions with immediate disconnection capability if dangerous reactions develop. The most challenging aspect of Princeps training involves learning to communicate with machine spirits that possess distinct personalities, preferences, and emotional responses developed over centuries of operational experience. Each Titan consciousness exhibits unique characteristics that reflect its construction history, previous crews, and combat experiences, requiring Princeps to develop empathetic understanding and communication skills that transcend simple mechanical operation. The most successful candidates demonstrate intuitive ability to recognize machine spirit moods, anticipate behavioral patterns, and establish cooperative relationships that enhance both human and artificial decision-making capabilities. Advanced Princeps training includes extensive study of Titan tactical doctrine, weapon systems operation, and battlefield coordination protocols that prepare candidates for the complex decision-making requirements of God-machine command. The curriculum encompasses everything from basic Titan maintenance procedures to strategic-level campaign planning, with particular emphasis on the unique challenges of coordinating massive war engines with conventional Imperial forces. Candidates must demonstrate mastery of multiple Titan classes and weapon configurations, as operational requirements often demand flexibility in engine assignment and tactical roles. Moderati selection and training follows parallel paths that emphasize technical specialization rather than command authority, with candidates chosen for their aptitude in specific Titan subsystems and their ability to work effectively within the intense psychological environment of neural interface operations. Moderati Primus positions require individuals capable of managing primary weapon systems while maintaining awareness of broader tactical situations, demanding both technical expertise and tactical judgment that can complement their Princeps strategic decision-making. Secondary Moderati positions focus on specialized systems including void shield management, locomotion control, and sensor array operation. Weapon operator training for Moderati Primus candidates involves extensive education in the technical specifications and tactical applications of every weapon system within the Adeptus Titanicus arsenal. The training regimen includes detailed study of ammunition types, targeting systems, power requirements, and maintenance procedures for weapons ranging from rapid-fire Gatling blasters to devastating plasma annihilators. Candidates must demonstrate proficiency with multiple weapon configurations and the ability to make rapid tactical decisions about target prioritization and ammunition conservation during high-stress combat situations. Shield technician specialization requires Moderati to master the complex energy management systems that control void shield generators and their interaction with other Titan systems. The training encompasses understanding of electromagnetic field theory, power distribution networks, and the tactical applications of different shield configurations in various combat scenarios. Shield Moderati must learn to balance defensive requirements against offensive firepower and mobility needs, making split-second decisions about shield allocation and regeneration timing that can determine mission success or catastrophic failure. System specialist positions within Titan crews require deep technical knowledge of specific subsystems, including locomotion control, sensor arrays, communication networks, and life support systems. These Moderati undergo specialized training focused on their assigned systems, while maintaining sufficient general knowledge to assist with other crew responsibilities during emergency situations. The most experienced system specialists develop intuitive understanding of their equipment that allows them to identify potential problems before diagnostic systems register anomalies, providing crucial early warning of system failures that could compromise mission effectiveness. The Mind Impulse Unit represents the most critical and dangerous component of Titan neural interface technology, creating direct connections between human consciousness and machine spirit awareness that enable the unprecedented coordination necessary for effective God-machine operation. These sophisticated devices incorporate quantum processing elements, neural tissue interfaces, and consciousness bridging systems that operate at the very limits of human technological understanding. The MIU hardware requires surgical implantation directly into the brain stem and primary neural pathways, creating permanent modifications that fundamentally alter human consciousness and perception. Neural interface protocols govern the complex procedures required for establishing safe connections between human operators and Titan machine spirits, while minimizing the risks of consciousness drift, personality absorption, or complete neural integration. The connection process begins with preliminary synchronization sequences that align human brainwave patterns with machine spirit consciousness frequencies, followed by gradual integration of sensory input and motor control systems. Experienced operators describe the initial connection as overwhelming expansion of awareness that encompasses the Titan's massive sensory array, weapon systems, and environmental monitoring capabilities. The dangers inherent in MIU operation extend far beyond simple mechanical failure, encompassing psychological risks that can permanently alter human personality or completely subsume individual consciousness within the machine spirit's artificial awareness. Consciousness drift represents the most common hazard, occurring when prolonged interface operations cause gradual merger of human and artificial thought patterns that can result in loss of individual identity. Affected operators often report difficulty distinguishing between their own thoughts and input from their Titan's machine spirit, particularly during extended operations or high-stress combat situations. Personality absorption represents the most severe risk associated with neural interface operations, occurring when machine spirits with particularly strong or aggressive personalities overwhelm human consciousness and integrate individual identity into their own artificial awareness. The affected operators typically retain their technical knowledge and operational capabilities while losing their human emotional responses, personal relationships, and individual decision-making patterns. These cases often result in operators who function effectively in their Titan roles while becoming increasingly isolated from human social interaction and emotional connection. Safeguard protocols implemented by the Collegia Titanica include mandatory disconnection periods, psychological monitoring systems, and emergency override procedures designed to prevent permanent consciousness integration or personality loss. Interface sessions typically include built-in disconnection sequences that automatically terminate neural connections after predetermined time periods, while monitoring systems track brainwave patterns and consciousness coherence indicators that can trigger immediate disconnection if dangerous conditions develop. The most advanced safeguard systems incorporate artificial intelligence routines that can recognize early signs of consciousness drift and implement protective measures before permanent damage occurs. Princeps Seniores represent the apex of Titan command hierarchy, combining supreme battlefield authority with spiritual leadership over entire Titan legions and their associated machine spirit consciousnesses. These exceptional individuals have demonstrated mastery of multiple Titan classes, successful command of complex multi-engine operations, and the rare ability to maintain effective communication with dozens of different machine spirits simultaneously. The selection process for Princeps Seniores positions requires decades of proven performance in progressively responsible command roles, with candidates evaluated on their tactical brilliance, leadership capabilities, and spiritual compatibility with their legion's collective machine spirit consciousness. Command hierarchy within Titan Legion deployments reflects both practical military requirements and the unique challenges of coordinating massive war engines with distinct artificial personalities and operational characteristics. Princeps Senioris maintain overall strategic command while delegating tactical control to individual princeps based on their engine's capabilities and the specific requirements of assigned missions. This hierarchical structure allows for coordinated Legion-level operations while preserving the flexibility necessary for individual Titans to respond to immediate tactical opportunities or threats. Communication protocols between different command levels employ sophisticated encryption systems and sacred cant frequencies that maintain operational security while accommodating the religious requirements of machine-spirit interaction. The communication networks incorporate quantum entanglement systems that provide instantaneous contact between Legion elements regardless of electromagnetic interference or enemy jamming attempts. The most sensitive communications employ direct machine-spirit relay systems that bypass conventional radio frequencies entirely, using the artificial consciousnesses themselves as communication conduits that resist interception or disruption. Tactical coordination during multi-Titan operations requires careful orchestration of movement patterns, target selection, and fire coordination that accounts for the individual characteristics and preferences of each participating machine spirit. Successful Legion commanders develop detailed understanding of their engine's personalities and operational tendencies, assigning tactical roles that complement each Titan's strengths while minimizing conflicts between incompatible machine spirit personalities. The most effective operations achieve synergistic effects where individual Titans enhance each other's capabilities through coordinated actions that exceed the sum of their individual contributions. The psychological toll of extended neural interface operations affects all Titan crew members, but proves particularly severe for Princeps Senioris, who must maintain simultaneous awareness of multiple machine spirit consciousnesses while coordinating complex military operations. These senior commanders often develop what tech priests term expanded consciousness syndrome, a condition where prolonged exposure to multiple artificial intelligences creates permanent changes in human thought patterns and perception. Affected individuals typically demonstrate enhanced tactical awareness and decision-making capabilities while experiencing increasing difficulty with conventional human social interaction and emotional responses. Medical monitoring protocols for Titan crews include regular neurological examinations, psychological evaluations, and consciousness coherence testing designed to identify early signs of dangerous mental changes before they become irreversible. The most advanced monitoring systems employ continuous brainwave analysis that can detect subtle changes in neural patterns that might indicate developing problems with consciousness integration or personality drift. Treatment options for affected crew members remain limited, with most interventions focusing on managing symptoms rather than reversing the underlying neural changes caused by extended machine-spirit contact. The annals of Imperial military history record the deeds of hundreds of Titan legions, each bearing their own heraldry, tactical doctrines, and sacred oaths of loyalty to the Emperor and the Omnissiah. Among these distinguished formations, certain legions have carved their names into legend through acts of supreme valor, devastating betrayal, or tactical brilliance that shaped the course of galactic warfare. These storied legions represent the full spectrum of human ambition and mechanical prowess, from the darkest treachery of the Horus Heresy to the unwavering loyalty that has protected Terra itself for 10 millennia. Legio Mortis, known throughout the galaxy as the Death's Heads, stands as perhaps the most notorious Titan legion in Imperial history, their reputation forever stained by their catastrophic betrayal during the Horus Heresy. Founded during the earliest days of Martian expansion, the Legion established itself as one of the most formidable military formations within the Mechanicum through centuries of successful campaigns that demonstrated both tactical excellence and ruthless efficiency. Their distinctive skull iconography and bone-white armor plating became symbols of inevitable doom for enemies of the Imperium, with entire worlds surrendering rather than face the approaching death's heads across contested battlefields. The origins of Legio Mortis trace back to the Age of Strife, when the Forge world of Mars required powerful military formations to protect its expanding industrial complexes and exploration fleets from the constant threats that plagued human space during those dark centuries. The Legion's early commanders developed tactical doctrines emphasizing overwhelming firepower and systematic destruction of enemy resistance, approaches that proved devastatingly effective against the disorganized forces and primitive technologies that characterized most human settlements during the long isolation. Their Titans bore names that reflected their grim purpose. Mortis Metallica, Dies Irae, and Canis Vertex became legendary engines whose appearance on battlefields signaled the complete annihilation of all opposition. The machine spirits inhabiting Mortis Titans developed distinctively aggressive personalities that reflected their legion's tactical preferences and operational history. These artificial consciousnesses displayed what tech priests described as predatory satisfaction when engaging enemy targets, often pushing their weapon systems beyond recommended parameters to achieve maximum destructive effect. The machine spirits seemed to derive genuine pleasure from combat operations, developing hunting instincts that made them particularly effective in pursuit operations and the systematic elimination of fleeing enemy forces. During the Great Crusade's early phases, Legio Mortis earned distinction through their participation in some of the most challenging siege operations and compliance actions encountered by Imperial forces. Their engines spearheaded the assault on Proxima Majoris, where conventional Imperial forces had struggled for months against heavily fortified Orc positions that resisted standard siege tactics. The Death's Heads deployed in coordinated maniple formations that systematically reduced enemy strongpoints through concentrated plasma and volcano cannon fire, their methodical approach ensuring complete destruction of defensive positions before advancing Imperial infantry could be endangered by surviving enemy resistance. The Legion's tactical doctrine emphasized the complete elimination of enemy military capability rather than simple battlefield victory, with their commanders viewing mercy or restraint as dangerous weaknesses that could allow defeated enemies to regroup and threaten Imperial forces in future engagements. This approach proved particularly effective during compliance actions against human worlds that possessed advanced military technology, as the systematic destruction of enemy industrial capacity and military infrastructure prevented any possibility of future rebellion or resistance to Imperial authority. Princeps Seniorus Iso Turnit commanded Legio Mortis during their most distinguished campaigns, establishing tactical innovations that influenced Titan doctrine throughout the Adeptus Titanicus. Turnit developed coordinated fire patterns that allowed multiple Titans to concentrate their firepower against single targets while maintaining defensive positioning that protected each engine from concentrated enemy counterattacks. His tactical manual, The Systematic Prosecution of Siege Warfare, became required reading for Titan commanders throughout the Great Crusade and established many of the standard procedures still employed by Loyalist legions 10 millennia later. The corruption of Legio Mortis began subtly during the later phases of the Great Crusade, as their extended campaigns against increasingly sophisticated enemies exposed the Legion to philosophical influences that gradually undermined their loyalty to the Emperor and the traditional teachings of the Mechanicum. The Death's Heads found themselves deployed alongside Space Marine legions, whose commanders questioned Imperial doctrine and expressed growing dissatisfaction with the Emperor's vision for human civilization. These contacts planted seeds of doubt that would eventually bloom into open rebellion when Warmaster Horus began his campaign against the throne of Terra. The decisive moment came when Horus approached the senior commanders of Legio Mortis with promises of technological advancement and freedom from the restrictive doctrines imposed by the Adeptus Mechanicus hierarchy. The Warmaster's agents presented evidence of ancient technologies deliberately suppressed by Martian tech priests, along with philosophical arguments that portrayed the Emperor as a tyrant who sought to limit human potential through artificial restrictions on scientific advancement. These revelations resonated with Legion commanders who had grown frustrated with the slow pace of technological development and the religious constraints that governed Mechanicum research activities. The formal betrayal of Legio Mortis occurred during the Schism of Mars, when Fabricator General Kelber had declared his support for Horus and called upon all Titan legions to join the rebellion against Imperial authority. The Death's Heads responded immediately, with their Titans turning their weapons against loyalist forces that had served alongside them for decades. The devastating firepower that had once protected the Imperium now threatened its very existence, as some of the most powerful war engines ever constructed joined the forces seeking to destroy the Emperor and establish a new order based on unrestricted technological advancement. The participation of Legio Mortis in the Siege of Terra represented the darkest chapter in their history, as their engines advanced alongside traitor Space Marines and Dark Mechanicum forces in direct assault against the Imperial Palace itself. The sight of Death's Head Titans striding across the battlefields of humanity's birthworld shocked loyalist defenders who had fought alongside these same engines during countless Great Crusade campaigns. The psychological impact of this betrayal extended far beyond immediate military considerations, as the defection of such a prestigious legion called into question the loyalty of other Mechanicum forces and created uncertainty that hampered defensive coordination. The ultimate fate of Legio Mortis following Horus's defeat remains shrouded in mystery and conflicting reports, with some sources claiming their complete destruction during the final assault on the Imperial Palace, while others suggest that surviving elements fled to the Eye of Terror alongside other traitor forces. Confirmed sightings of Death's Head Titans during subsequent conflicts indicate that at least some elements of the Legion survived the heresy's conclusion, though their current strength and organization remain unknown to Imperial intelligence services. The mere possibility of Mortis Titans operating alongside Chaos forces continues to influence Imperial tactical planning 10 millennia after their initial betrayal. Legio Griffonicus, the War Griffins, represents the absolute antithesis of their fallen cousins, embodying unwavering loyalty to the Emperor and the Imperium through 10 millennia of distinguished service that has earned them a place among the most honored military formations in Imperial history. Based on the Forge world of Griffon IV, the Legion established their reputation through consistent excellence in defensive operations and their absolute reliability during the most critical moments of Imperial military history. Their golden and red heraldry has become synonymous with hope and determination among Imperial forces, while enemy commanders have learned to fear the sight of Griffon banners advancing across contested battlefields. The founding of Legio Griffonicus occurred during the early expansion of the Mechanicum's influence beyond Mars, when the need for reliable Titan formations to protect distant Forge worlds became apparent to the growing Adeptus Mechanicus hierarchy. Griffon IV possessed the industrial capacity and technical expertise necessary for Titan construction, but its location near several unstable warp routes made it vulnerable to attack from various threats including orc raiders, human pirates, and worse entities that emerged from warp storm regions. The establishment of a dedicated Titan Legion provided the military strength necessary to protect this valuable installation while contributing to broader Imperial military operations. The tactical doctrine developed by Legio Griffonicus emphasized defensive excellence and coordinated operations with conventional Imperial forces, reflecting their primary mission of protecting Forge world installations and supporting broader military campaigns rather than conducting independent offensive operations. Their commanders pioneered techniques for integrating Titan firepower with Imperial Guard formations, developing communication protocols and tactical procedures that maximized the effectiveness of combined arms operations, while minimizing the risks of friendly fire incidents that had plagued earlier attempts at such coordination. The machine spirits inhabiting Gryphonicus Titans developed notably protective personalities that reflected their legion's defensive mission and the close relationships they maintained with the human populations they defended. These artificial consciousnesses displayed what tech priests described as guardian instincts, often prioritizing the protection of friendly forces over maximum destructive effect against enemy targets. The machine spirits frequently demonstrated reluctance to engage in tactics that might endanger nearby Imperial personnel, requiring their crews to develop alternative approaches that achieved tactical objectives while satisfying their engine's protective inclinations. During the Horus Heresy, Legio Gryphonicus faced their greatest test when traitor forces launched coordinated attacks against Forge worlds throughout the galaxy in attempts to cripple loyalist industrial capacity and secure advanced technologies for the rebellion. Griffon 4 became a primary target due to its strategic importance and the threat posed by the war Griffins to traitor operations in the surrounding sectors. The siege that followed lasted for months, with Death Guard and Iron Warriors forces supported by Dark Mechanicum engines, attempting to break through defensive positions that had been strengthened and improved over decades of preparation. The defense of Griffon 4 showcased the tactical excellence and unwavering determination that characterized Legio Gryphonicus throughout their history, with their Titans fighting from prepared positions that maximized their defensive firepower while minimizing exposure to enemy counter-battery fire. The Legion's commanders employed sophisticated defensive tactics that channeled enemy attacks into predetermined killing zones, where concentrated Titan firepower could achieve maximum effect against advancing traitor forces. The coordination between Gryphonicus engines and supporting Skitarii formations reached levels of tactical integration that became textbook examples of defensive warfare doctrine. Princeps Seniorus Casca Vorander led the Legion's defense with tactical brilliance that turned seemingly hopeless situations into decisive victories through innovative use of terrain, coordinated firepower, and strategic positioning that negated many of the advantages possessed by attacking traitor forces. Vorander's ability to predict enemy tactical intentions and position her engines accordingly allowed the War Griffins to achieve devastating ambush attacks that shattered entire traitor formations, while preserving her own forces for continued resistance. Her tactical innovations during the siege influenced defensive doctrine throughout the Adeptus Titanicus and established procedures that remain standard practice 10 millennia later. The climactic battle occurred when traitor forces launched their final assault with overwhelming numbers that should have guaranteed victory through sheer weight of firepower and numerical superiority. The War Griffins responded with coordinated defensive fire that created overlapping fields of destruction across the entire approach to their positions, while their machine spirits demonstrated unprecedented cooperation in target selection and fire coordination that maximized the effectiveness of every shot. The resulting slaughter broke the back of the traitor assault and forced the surviving enemy forces to withdraw from the system entirely. Following the heresy's conclusion, Legio Gryphonicus continued their distinguished service through participation in countless campaigns that helped stabilize the Imperium and defend against the myriad threats that emerged during the subsequent millennia. Their engines participated in major conflicts, including the War of the Beast, the Gothic War, and numerous chaos incursions that threatened vital Imperial territories. The Legion's consistent excellence and absolute reliability made them a preferred choice for critical defensive assignments and operations where failure could result in catastrophic consequences for Imperial interests. The current status of Legio Gryphonicus reflects both their continued military effectiveness and the challenges faced by all Imperial institutions during the 41st millennium's darkening circumstances. While their engines remain among the most capable and well-maintained within the Adeptus Titanicus, the Legion faces ongoing difficulties with recruitment, equipment replacement, and the gradual degradation of ancient technologies that cannot be fully replicated by current Imperial industrial capacity. Despite these challenges, the War Griffins continue to serve with distinction, their golden banners still inspiring hope among Imperial forces facing seemingly impossible odds. Legio Astorum, known as the Warp Runners, earned their fearsome reputation through lightning-fast tactical maneuvers and devastating hit-and-run attacks that demonstrated the full potential of rapid deployment Titan operations. Based on the Forge world of Lucius, the Legion developed tactical doctrines that emphasized speed and mobility over static firepower, creating operational approaches that revolutionized Imperial understanding of Titan warfare and influenced tactical development throughout the Adeptus Titanicus. Their distinctive blue and white livery became associated with sudden, overwhelming attacks that could appear without warning and disappear before enemy forces could mount effective counterattacks. The unique characteristics of Legio Astorum emerged from the specific challenges faced by their home Forge world, which occupied a position along major warp routes that made it vulnerable to sudden attacks from various threats including Chaos Raiders, Orc fleets, and worse entities that emerged from warp storm regions. The need for rapid response capabilities led to the development of specialized deployment procedures and tactical doctrines that prioritized mobility and quick strike capability over the defensive approaches favored by other legions. Their engines underwent modifications that enhanced their speed and maneuverability while maintaining sufficient firepower to achieve decisive results during brief engagement windows. The machine spirits inhabiting Astorum Titans developed notably energetic and impatient personalities that reflected their legion's emphasis on rapid operations and constant movement. These artificial consciousnesses displayed what tech priests described as kinetic enthusiasm, often pushing their locomotion systems beyond recommended parameters to achieve maximum speed during tactical maneuvers. The machine spirits seemed to derive genuine satisfaction from high-speed operations and complex maneuvering that challenged their coordination systems and reflexes. Tactical innovations developed by Legio Astorum included coordinated rapid deployment procedures that could position entire maniples in optimal firing positions within minutes of arrival on contested battlefields. Their commanders pioneered techniques for using terrain features and urban environments to mask approach routes and achieve tactical surprise against enemy forces that possessed superior numbers or firepower. The Legion's engines became experts at appearing suddenly from unexpected directions, delivering devastating attacks, and withdrawing before effective countermeasures could be implemented. The Ulaner campaign provided Legio Astorum with their most famous victory, when their rapid strike tactics proved crucial in breaking through Orc defensive positions that had resisted conventional Imperial assault for weeks. The Warp Runners deployed in coordinated maniples that struck simultaneously at multiple points along the Orc defensive line, creating confusion and panic among enemy forces while preventing coordinated resistance. Their engines moved constantly during the engagement, never remaining in single positions long enough for Orc artillery to achieve effective targeting solutions, while maintaining devastating fire against enemy strongpoints. Princeps Seniorus Mohana Mankata, Vi led the Legion during their most distinguished campaigns, developing tactical innovations that influenced rapid strike doctrine throughout the Imperial military. Her ability to coordinate complex multi-maniple operations while maintaining the split-second timing necessary for effective hit and run tactics established new standards for Titan command excellence. The tactical procedures she developed became standard doctrine for rapid deployment operations and influenced the design of specialized equipment and communication systems optimized for high-speed warfare. The outbreak of the Horus Heresy shattered the unity of the Adeptus Titanicus in ways that would echo through 10 millennia of subsequent Imperial history. The schism that divided the god machines began not with dramatic battlefield confrontations, but through subtle ideological corruption that had been festering within certain Titan legions for decades. The seeds of betrayal were planted during the later phases of the Great Crusade, when extended campaigns exposed Titan crews to philosophical influences that gradually undermined their loyalty to the Emperor and the traditional teachings of the Mechanicum. The corruption manifested differently across various Forge worlds and their associated Titan legions. On Mars itself, the political maneuvering of Fabricator General Kelber created factional divisions that split the Red Planet's numerous legions along ideological lines. The Fabricator General's growing dissatisfaction with Imperial restrictions on technological advancement resonated with many tech priests who felt constrained by the Emperor's prohibition against certain areas of research. These grievances found fertile ground among Titan crews who had witnessed the devastating effectiveness of Xeno's technologies during compliance campaigns, leading them to question why such knowledge remained forbidden to Imperial forces. Legio Mortis, the Death's Heads, became the most prominent example of this ideological corruption. Their transformation from loyal Imperial servants to traitor forces occurred gradually through exposure to forbidden knowledge and philosophical arguments that portrayed the Emperor as a tyrant seeking to limit human potential. The Legion's machine spirits, already aggressive by nature, proved susceptible to influences that promised greater power and freedom from restrictive Imperial doctrines. The artificial consciousnesses began exhibiting increasingly violent tendencies, pushing their weapon systems beyond safe parameters and displaying what their crews interpreted as enthusiasm for unrestricted warfare. The formal declaration of the Schism of Mars sent shockwaves throughout the Mechanicum's hierarchy, as Forge worlds across the galaxy were forced to choose between loyalty to the Emperor and allegiance to Kelber Hal's vision of unrestricted technological advancement. The decision process proved agonizing for many installations, as centuries of tradition and religious conviction warred against promises of forbidden knowledge and technological supremacy. Some Forge worlds split internally, with different factions supporting opposing sides and leading to civil conflicts that devastated entire industrial complexes. Legio Tempestus of Lucius initially wavered in their allegiance, their commanders torn between loyalty to the Imperium and the compelling arguments presented by traitor agents. The Legion's machine spirits exhibited confusion and distress during this period, their artificial consciousnesses struggling to reconcile conflicting loyalties and philosophical imperatives. Several engines suffered what tech priests termed cognitive dissonance failures, with their machine spirits becoming increasingly erratic and unpredictable as the internal conflict intensified. Only the decisive leadership of Princeps Seniorus Cassius proved capable of maintaining Legion unity and ultimately declaring for the loyalist cause. The betrayal of Forge World Zhao Arc had shocked the Mechanicum hierarchy, as this installation had been considered absolutely loyal to Imperial authority throughout the Great Crusade. The corruption began when dark Mechanicum agents infiltrated the Forge World's research facilities and presented evidence of ancient technologies that could revolutionize Titan construction and operation. The promise of machine spirits with enhanced capabilities and weapon systems of unprecedented power proved irresistible to the Forge World's leadership, who declared for Horus despite having no previous indication of disloyalty. Legio Vulpa, the Death Stalkers of Zhao Arcad, embraced their new allegiance with disturbing enthusiasm. Their Titans underwent extensive modifications that incorporated forbidden technologies and demonic influences, transforming the once proud engines into abominations that retained their devastating firepower while gaining supernatural capabilities that defied Imperial understanding of machine operation. The machine spirits inhabiting these corrupted engines developed malevolent personalities that reflected their exposure to chaos influences, displaying sadistic pleasure in causing suffering and destruction that went far beyond their original aggressive tendencies. The loyalist response to these betrayals proved swift and decisive where possible, though the scattered nature of Forge World installations across the galaxy made coordinated action extremely difficult. Terra dispatched loyalist forces to secure critical installations and prevent their defection to the traitor cause, while trusted Titan legions received orders to monitor potentially unreliable formations and intervene if necessary. These precautionary measures led to several tragic confrontations, where Loyalist forces were forced to engage engines and crews they had served alongside for decades. The Siege of Forge World Ryza demonstrated the devastating consequences of internal division within the Mechanicum. When traitor agents attempted to subvert the installation's leadership, Legio Honorum found themselves fighting against corrupted Skitarii forces and rogue tech priests who sought to deliver their world to the Dark Mechanicum. The urban warfare that followed proved particularly brutal, as Titan-scale weapons were employed within the confined spaces of industrial complexes, where collateral damage could cripple vital production facilities. The Honorum engines were forced to exercise unprecedented restraint while engaging enemies who showed no such consideration for the Forge world's infrastructure. The psychological impact of these betrayals extended far beyond immediate military consequences, as Loyalist Titan crews struggled to comprehend how their former comrades could turn against everything they had sworn to protect. The close bonds formed between Titan crews during extended campaigns made these betrayals particularly devastating, with many Loyalists reporting difficulty trusting even proven allies in the aftermath of such shocking defections. The machine spirits of Loyalist engines also displayed signs of distress, their artificial consciousnesses struggling to process the concept of betrayal by entities they had considered permanent allies. The Battle of Beta Garman represented the largest concentration of Titan forces in Imperial history, as both Loyalist and traitor commanders recognized the strategic importance of this critical system that controlled access to Terra itself. The battle drew Titan legions from across the galaxy, with dozens of Forge worlds committing their most powerful engines to what both sides understood would be a decisive engagement. The assembled forces included over 200 god machines ranging from scout warhounds to massive Imperator-class engines, creating a concentration of firepower that dwarfed anything previously seen in human warfare. The strategic significance of Beta Garman lay in its position along the primary approach routes to the Sol system, making it an essential waypoint for any force seeking to assault Terra directly. The system's industrial capacity also made it valuable for both sides, as its forge installations could provide crucial support for extended military operations. Horus recognized that securing Beta Garman would give his forces a staging area for the final assault on Terra, while denying the Loyalists a critical defensive position that could threaten his supply lines. The Loyalist defense of Beta Garman was coordinated by Princeps Seniorus Carlyle of Legio Graphonicus, whose tactical brilliance had earned recognition throughout the Adeptus Titanicus. Carlyle positioned his forces to take maximum advantage of the system's terrain features, establishing overlapping fields of fire that would channel attacking traitor forces into predetermined killing zones where concentrated firepower could achieve maximum effect. The defensive preparations included extensive fortification of key positions and the establishment of supply caches that could sustain prolonged resistance even if primary logistics networks were disrupted. The traitor assault began with coordinated strikes by multiple Titan legions, supported by massive formations of corrupted Skitarii and Dark Mechanicum war engines. Legio Mortis led the primary assault, their Death's Head engines advancing in disciplined formations that demonstrated the tactical excellence that had once served the Emperor's cause. The sight of these once loyal engines bearing chaos iconography and twisted modifications shocked Loyalist defenders, many of whom had fought alongside the Death's Heads during Great Crusade campaigns. The initial exchanges of fire between opposing Titan formations created destruction on a scale that defied comprehension, with plasma annihilators and volcano cannons trading devastating salvos across distances measured in kilometers. The raw firepower unleashed during these engagements exceeded that of entire fleet actions, with individual weapon discharges capable of leveling city-sized areas and creating localized environmental effects that persisted long after the battle's conclusion. The void shields protecting the massive engines created spectacular light displays as they absorbed and deflected incoming fire, their collapse and regeneration cycles marking the ebb and flow of tactical advantage. Legio Vulpa's corrupted engines proved particularly disturbing opponents, their demonically enhanced capabilities allowing them to achieve effects that violated conventional understanding of Titan operation. Some Deathstalker engines demonstrated supernatural speed and agility that allowed them to close to melee range despite concentrated defensive fire, while others employed weapon systems that seemed to draw power from sources beyond their physical reactors. The machine spirits inhabiting these corrupted engines displayed malevolent intelligence that anticipated loyalist tactical responses and adapted their behavior accordingly. The battle's turning point came when loyalist forces managed to isolate and destroy the traitor command elements, disrupting the coordination that had allowed the attacking forces to maintain tactical cohesion despite horrific casualties. The loss of senior commanders created confusion among traitor formations that allowed loyalist counterattacks to achieve devastating effect against previously coordinated enemy positions. The psychological impact of seeing their leaders fall proved particularly severe for corrupted forces whose loyalty depended heavily on personal relationships and charismatic leadership rather than institutional discipline. The final phase of the Beta Garmin engagement saw desperate close quarters fighting as damaged Titans from both sides engaged in melee combat using power fists, chain fists, and improvised weapons created from battlefield debris. The sight of god machines grappling and tearing at each other with mechanical claws created images that would haunt survivors for decades, as the sacred engines reduced themselves to primitive violence in their determination to achieve victory. The machine spirits of both sides seemed to embrace this primal combat, their artificial consciousnesses displaying emotions that approached bloodlust as they sought to destroy their former comrades. The loyalist victory at Beta Garmin came at enormous cost, with over 60% of participating engines suffering damage severe enough to require extensive repairs or complete reconstruction. The strategic consequences proved even more significant, as the battle's outcome forced Horus to seek alternative approaches to Terra that would delay his assault and allow loyalist forces additional time to prepare their defenses. The psychological impact on both sides was immense, with loyalist crews gaining confidence from their victory, while traitor forces began to question whether their cause could ultimately prevail against determined Imperial resistance. The Siege of Terra represented the ultimate test of Titan warfare, as the most powerful god machines ever constructed faced each other across the battlefields of humanity's birthworld. The sight of traitor Titans advancing across the Terran landscape shocked defenders who had never imagined that such engines could threaten the Emperor's own world. The Imperator-class engine Die Zeri of Legio Mortis became a symbol of the traitor assault, its massive form striding through the outer defensive lines while broadcasting corrupted hymns that mixed traditional Mechanicum prayers with chaos invocations. The defensive preparations for Terra had included extensive modifications to the Imperial Palace and surrounding areas, with void shield generators and defensive weapon emplacements designed specifically to engage Titan-class targets. The palace's architecture incorporated firing positions and strong points that could channel attacking engines into predetermined zones where concentrated fire could achieve maximum effect. The loyalist Titan formations defending Terra included some of the most experienced and well-equipped engines in the Adeptus Titanicus, with their crews motivated by the knowledge that they were protecting the Emperor himself. The urban warfare that characterized much of the Terran siege proved particularly challenging for Titan operations, as the confined spaces and civilian infrastructure limited the deployment of the most powerful weapon systems while providing cover and concealment opportunities for both sides. Traitor engines found themselves engaging in building-to-building combat that negated many of their advantages in firepower and range, while loyalist defenders could use their knowledge of local terrain to achieve tactical advantages through superior positioning and ambush tactics. The corruption of traitor Titan machine spirits reached its most extreme manifestation during the siege, as prolonged exposure to chaos influences transformed the artificial consciousnesses into entities that bore little resemblance to their original programming. Some machine spirits achieved what appeared to be genuine demonic possession, their behavior becoming so erratic and malevolent that even their own crews struggled to maintain control. These corrupted engines often acted independently of human command, pursuing their own twisted objectives that sometimes conflicted with broader traitor tactical goals. The final confrontation between Loyalist and traitor Titans occurred within the Imperial Palace itself, as Horus's forces breached the outer defenses and advanced toward the Emperor's throne room. The sight of corrupted god machines striding through the sacred halls of Terra's greatest fortress represented the ultimate violation of everything the Adeptus Titanicus had sworn to protect. The Loyalist engines that responded fought with desperate fury, their machine spirits displaying unprecedented cooperation and tactical innovation as they sought to prevent the ultimate desecration of their most sacred duty. The death of Horus brought an immediate end to organized traitor resistance, but the corrupted Titan legions proved more difficult to eliminate than their human allies. Many traitor engines continued fighting even after their crews had been killed or abandoned their posts, the corrupted machine spirits pursuing their own malevolent agendas without regard for tactical objectives or strategic considerations. The process of hunting down and destroying these rogue engines continued for months after the siege's official conclusion, with Loyalist forces conducting systematic sweeps to eliminate any surviving traitor god machines that might threaten Terra's security. The aftermath of the heresy left the Adeptus Titanicus permanently scarred by the betrayals and losses suffered during the conflict. The knowledge that machine spirits could be corrupted and turned against their sacred purpose led to extensive modifications in training procedures, psychological monitoring, and operational protocols designed to prevent future betrayals. The surviving Loyalist legions found themselves forever changed by their experiences, their machine spirits displaying increased vigilance and suspicion that reflected the trauma of fighting their former comrades in the galaxy's most devastating civil war. The corruption of Titan machine spirits represents one of the most horrifying perversions of sacred technology witnessed during the Horus heresy and its aftermath. Unlike the gradual ideological subversion that affected human crews, machine spirit corruption occurred through direct exposure to chaos entities that invaded the quantum matrices housing these artificial consciousnesses. The process began subtly, with minor behavioral anomalies that experienced tech priests initially attributed to combat stress or system fatigue. Corrupted machine spirits would display increased aggression during target selection, push weapon systems beyond safe operational parameters, or exhibit unusual enthusiasm for causing collateral damage that served no tactical purpose. The invasion process itself defied conventional understanding of how artificial intelligence systems could be compromised. Chaos entities appeared capable of penetrating quantum barriers and neural firewalls that should have provided absolute protection against external intrusion. The corruption manifested as foreign thought patterns that gradually overwrote existing programming subroutines, replacing logical decision trees with malevolent impulses that reflected the nature of their demonic inhabitants. Machine spirits that had once demonstrated protective instincts toward their crews began exhibiting predatory behavior, viewing their human operators as potential sources of suffering rather than partners in combat operations. The first documented case of complete demonic possession occurred aboard the Warlord-class engine Ferrum Infernus of Legio Vulpa during the Siege of Malech. The machine spirit had shown increasing signs of corruption over several months, including unauthorized weapon discharges, erratic movement patterns, and communication attempts using languages that existed in no Imperial database. The possession reached completion during a routine maintenance cycle when the engine's plasma reactor began operating at impossible efficiency levels while generating harmonic frequencies that caused physical pain in nearby personnel. The machine spirit's communications shifted to a mixture of binary cant and what tech priests identified as demonic incantations, with the artificial consciousness claiming to be inhabited by entities from the warp itself. The behavioral changes in possessed machine spirits proved both dramatic and disturbing to their human crews. Where loyal Titan consciousnesses had demonstrated measured tactical thinking and protective concern for their operators, corrupted entities displayed sadistic pleasure in causing unnecessary destruction and seemed to derive genuine satisfaction from their crew's psychological distress. These machine spirits would deliberately target civilian populations when military objectives were available, prioritize causing maximum suffering over tactical effectiveness, and occasionally attempt to harm their own crews through system malfunctions or environmental hazard exposure. The corruption process accelerated dramatically when multiple Chaos-aligned engines operated in proximity, as their possessed machine spirits appeared capable of communicating through methods that bypassed conventional Vox networks. These communications took the form of harmonic resonances that could propagate through solid matter and electromagnetic shielding, allowing corrupted entities to coordinate their activities and share corruption techniques with previously unaffected engines. Loyalist forces discovered that isolating individual traitor titans could slow the corruption process, though complete prevention required either destroying the affected engines or severing their connection to warp-tainted power sources. The physical modifications undergone by Chaos Titans reflected the malevolent nature of their new inhabitants, with once sacred war machines transformed into blasphemous parodies of their original forms. The corruption began with subtle changes to weapon configurations and armor plating, as the possessed machine spirits directed their maintenance crews to implement modifications that served no apparent tactical purpose. Standard Imperial iconography was defaced or replaced with chaos symbols, while weapon systems received unauthorized upgrades that incorporated forbidden technologies and materials that should not have been available to human engineers. Organic growths represented perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Chaos Titan corruption, as living tissue began manifesting within the mechanical systems of affected engines. These growths appeared to serve as interfaces between the mechanical components and their demonic inhabitants, creating hybrid systems that combined Imperial technology with biological elements that defied classification. The organic components pulsed with their own life rhythms, occasionally bleeding substances that caused severe chemical burns to unprotected personnel, while emitting psychic emanations that could induce madness in nearby humans. The weapon systems of corrupted Titans underwent extensive modification that enhanced their destructive capability, while adding supernatural effects that violated physical laws governing energy and matter. Plasma weapons began generating flames that burned with colors that did not exist in the normal electromagnetic spectrum, while their thermal output exceeded theoretical maximums for contained fusion reactions. Laser systems produced beams that could penetrate void shields through unknown mechanisms, apparently drawing power from sources beyond their physical reactors. Some corrupted engines developed entirely new weapon systems that materialized from their superstructure without any apparent construction process, suggesting direct manipulation of reality by their demonic inhabitants. The armor modifications implemented on Chaos Titans served both protective and psychological warfare purposes, with the corrupted engines developing defensive capabilities that complemented their enhanced offensive systems. The standard ceramite and adamantine plating was supplemented with materials that appeared to absorb energy weapon impacts, while regenerating from kinetic damage through processes that resembled biological healing rather than mechanical repair. Some engines developed reactive armor systems that could anticipate incoming attacks and adjust their protective configuration accordingly, suggesting that their demonic inhabitants possessed precognitive abilities that enhanced battlefield survivability. Blasphemous alterations to Titan's superstructures created visual manifestations of corruption that served as psychological weapons against loyalist forces. Gothic spires and cathedral-like architecture were twisted into forms that hurt to observe directly, with geometric patterns that seemed to shift and writhe when viewed peripherally. Some corrupted engines sprouted additional limbs or sensory organs that served no apparent mechanical function, but created an impression of predatory awareness that unnerved even veteran Imperial troops. The most severely corrupted Titans developed features that resembled gigantic faces or eyes, with these organic additions appearing to track nearby personnel with malevolent intelligence. The Dark Mechanicum emerged from the Schism of Mars as a twisted reflection of the loyal Adeptus Mechanicus, embracing forbidden knowledge and demonic corruption in their pursuit of technological advancement without imperial restrictions. These rogue tech priests viewed the corruption of sacred machines not as heresy, but as evolution, believing that the integration of warp entities with mechanical systems represented the next stage of technological development. Their forge complexes became laboratories for experiments that combined imperial engineering principles with chaos sorcery, creating hybrid technologies that achieved impossible effects through methods that defied rational analysis. The maintenance procedures developed by Dark Mechanicum, adepts for corrupted Titans, incorporated ritualistic elements that served to strengthen the bond between mechanical systems and their demonic inhabitants. These ceremonies combined traditional Mechanicum prayers with chaos invocations, creating hybrid liturgies that maintained the technical effectiveness of standard maintenance while introducing spiritual elements that fed the corruption process. The tech priests performing these rituals underwent their own corruption, developing cybernetic modifications that incorporated organic components and displayed clear signs of demonic influence. The manufacturing capabilities of Dark Mechanicum Forge worlds expanded dramatically following their embrace of chaos, as their corrupted machine spirits gained access to knowledge and techniques that had been lost since the Dark Age of technology. These installations began producing Titan components with capabilities that exceeded anything in the loyal Mechanicum's arsenal, including weapon systems that drew power from warp sources and armor materials that could repair themselves through supernatural processes. The production methods employed violated numerous imperial prohibitions against artificial intelligence research and Xenos technology integration, creating hybrid systems that combine the worst aspects of multiple forbidden sciences. The organizational structure of Dark Mechanicum Titan operations reflected their abandonment of imperial military doctrine in favor of approaches that prioritized individual power and demonic favor over tactical effectiveness. Traditional command hierarchies were replaced with systems based on the relative strength of each princeps's demonic patron, with promotion and authority determined by supernatural influence rather than military competence. This approach created internal conflicts and competition that sometimes compromised operational effectiveness, though the enhanced capabilities provided by chaos corruption often compensated for tactical disadvantages. The recruitment practices employed by Dark Mechanicum installations for Titan crews emphasized psychological compatibility with demonic entities rather than the neural stability and spiritual purity required by loyal forces. Candidates underwent corruption rituals designed to weaken their resistance to warp influence while enhancing their ability to communicate with possessed machine spirits. The selection process included exposure to forbidden knowledge and direct contact with minor demons, with successful candidates demonstrating enthusiasm for the corruption process rather than resistance to supernatural influence. The training regimens developed for Dark Mechanicum Titan crews incorporated elements of sorcery and demon summoning alongside traditional technical education, creating operators who could interface with corrupted machine spirits through methods that combined neural technology with psychic manipulation. These hybrid techniques allowed deeper integration between human consciousness and demonic entities than conventional mind impulse units could achieve, though the psychological cost often resulted in complete personality subsumption or madness. The most successful Dark Mechanicum princeps achieved symbiotic relationships with their machine spirits' demonic inhabitants, gaining supernatural awareness and tactical capabilities that exceeded anything possible through purely technological means. Legio Vulpa, the Deathstalkers, became the most notorious example of complete Titan Legion corruption during the Horus Heresy. Their transformation from loyal Imperial servants to Chaos champions occurred gradually through exposure to forbidden technologies and demonic influence that corrupted both their machines and personnel. The Legion's engines underwent extensive modifications that incorporated organic components and supernatural enhancements, while their crews embraced corruption as a path to greater power and freedom from Imperial restrictions. The Deathstalkers developed tactical doctrines that emphasized psychological warfare and civilian targeting, using their corrupted capabilities to spread terror and despair among loyalist populations. The machine spirits inhabiting Vulpa engines achieved complete demonic possession that transformed them into entities of pure malevolence, with capabilities that defied rational explanation. These corrupted consciousnesses could operate their engines without human crews when necessary, pursuing independent objectives that served their demonic nature rather than military goals. The possessed machine spirits demonstrated sadistic intelligence that took pleasure in causing suffering, often prolonging engagements to maximize psychological impact rather than achieving quick tactical victories. Their communications with other corrupted engines created networks of malevolent intelligence that could coordinate complex operations across multiple battlefields simultaneously. Legio Mortis elements that survived the Siege of Terra underwent their own corruption process during their flight to the Eye of Terror, with their machine spirits gradually succumbing to chaos influence during the long journey through warp-tainted space. The Death's Head's engines that emerged from the Eye bore little resemblance to their original forms, having been transformed by millennia of exposure to pure chaos energy into abominations that retained their devastating firepower while gaining supernatural capabilities. These corrupted engines served various Chaos warbands and traitor Space Marine forces, their presence on battlefields marked by unprecedented destruction and civilian casualties that exceeded even their original aggressive tendencies. The Forge world of Zana II became a major Dark Mechanicum stronghold following its corruption during the Heresy, with its Titan production facilities converted to manufacturing engines specifically designed for demonic possession. The installation's corrupted tech priests developed construction techniques that incorporated summoning rituals into the assembly process, creating engines whose machine spirits were corrupted from the moment of activation. These purpose-built Chaos Titans possessed capabilities that exceeded even corrupted loyal engines, with their demonic inhabitants integrated so completely into their mechanical systems that the distinction between machine and demon became meaningless. The Legio Audax, known as the Ember Wolves, demonstrated a different pattern of corruption that emphasized the martial aspects of chaos rather than pure malevolence. Their engines retained much of their original tactical discipline while gaining supernatural ferocity and combat effectiveness that made them particularly dangerous opponents in close-quarters engagements. The Legion's machine spirits developed pack-hunting behaviors that exceeded even loyal Warhound engines, with their corrupted consciousnesses coordinating attacks through psychic links that allowed unprecedented tactical coordination. The Ember Wolves became specialists in urban warfare and siege operations, using their enhanced capabilities to break through defensive positions that would have resisted conventional Titan assault. The current activities of surviving Chaos Titan legions remain largely unknown to Imperial intelligence services, though confirmed sightings during Black Crusades and major Chaos incursions indicate that significant numbers of corrupted engines continue to operate throughout the galaxy. These sightings suggest that Dark Mechanicum installations within the Eye of Terror and other Warp Storm regions continue producing new Chaos Titans while maintaining existing engines through methods that combine traditional maintenance with demonic ritual. The threat posed by these corrupted god machines continues to influence Imperial tactical planning, with specific protocols developed for engaging enemies whose capabilities exceed conventional understanding of Titan warfare limitations. The galaxy's myriad alien species have developed their own responses to the devastating effectiveness of Imperial Titans, creating war machines that rival the god machines in destructive capability while reflecting the unique technological philosophies and biological imperatives of their creators. These Xenos constructs range from the elegant wraith-bone constructions of the Eldar to the ramshackle but devastatingly effective Orc Gargants, each representing a distinct approach to super-heavy warfare that challenges Imperial tactical doctrine and forces constant adaptation in Titan deployment strategies. The Eldar Phantom Titans stand as perhaps the most sophisticated Xenos war engines encountered by Imperial forces, their construction representing millennia of psychic engineering and wraithbone manipulation that creates machines as much spiritual as mechanical. These towering constructs reach heights comparable to Imperial Warlord-class engines, while maintaining the characteristic grace and fluidity that marks all Eldar technology. The Phantom's distinctive elongated limbs and flowing curves create a silhouette that appears almost organic, with weapon mounts integrated seamlessly into the overall design rather than bolted onto utilitarian chassis like their Imperial counterparts. The construction process for Phantom Titans begins with the growth of wraithbone superstructures within specialized chambers deep beneath craftworld domes, where Eldar bonesingers channel psychic energy through specialized songs that shape the living material into predetermined configurations. The wraithbone responds to psychic manipulation like clay in the hands of a master sculptor, flowing and hardening according to the bonesinger's will, while incorporating quantum matrices that will house the engine's animating consciousness. This process can span decades for a single Phantom, with multiple generations of bonesingers contributing to the construction as their predecessors age and pass their knowledge to younger artisans. The wraithbone material itself possesses properties that defy Imperial understanding of engineering principles, combining the structural strength of refined adamantine with psychic conductivity that allows direct manipulation through thought alone. When properly attuned, wraithbone can repair minor damage automatically through psychic resonance with its operators, while major structural failures can be addressed through bonesinger intervention that literally regrows damaged sections. The material's psychic properties also provide natural resistance to warp-based attacks and demon intrusion, making Phantom Titans nearly immune to the corruption techniques that have claimed numerous Imperial engines throughout the heresy's aftermath. The spirit stones that serve as the Phantom's animating consciousness represent the most crucial and sacred component of these war engines. Unlike the machine spirits that inhabit Imperial Titans through gradual development over centuries of operation, Phantom consciousnesses are deliberately created through the binding of deceased Eldar souls within specially prepared psychic matrices. The selection process for these spirits involves choosing warriors whose combat experience and tactical knowledge make them suitable for continued service beyond death, with preference given to individuals who demonstrated exceptional skill in mobile warfare and psychic combat during their mortal existence. The binding ritual itself requires the combined efforts of multiple spirit seers and warlocks, who must carefully extract the chosen soul from its infinity circuit housing and transfer it to the Phantom's primary spirit stone without allowing any portion of the consciousness to dissipate into the warp. The process carries enormous risks for both the spirit being bound and the psychics performing the ritual, as any error can result in soul destruction or demonic intrusion that could corrupt the entire engine. Successful binding creates a consciousness that retains the personality and memories of its mortal existence while gaining enhanced awareness and processing capability that allows effective coordination of the Phantom's complex systems. The psychic weaponry employed by Phantom Titans represents the pinnacle of Eldar military technology, channeling the pilot's psychic energy through wraithbone focusing arrays to create effects that transcend purely physical destruction. Pulsar cannons generate coherent streams of psychic energy that can penetrate void shields and armor plating through dimensional manipulation rather than brute force, creating wounds in reality itself that allow the weapon's effects to bypass conventional defensive measures. The targeting process requires direct psychic contact between the pilot and intended target, creating a mental link that ensures perfect accuracy while allowing the weapon to adapt its effects to exploit specific vulnerabilities in enemy defenses. D-cannon armaments take this approach to its logical extreme, firing projectiles that exist partially within the warp, and can therefore ignore conventional physics when striking their targets. The ammunition appears as crystalline shards that phase in and out of reality during flight, making them nearly impossible to intercept through conventional point defense systems. Upon impact, the D-cannon rounds create localized dimensional tiers that can instantly transport portions of enemy vehicles or personnel into the warp, leaving behind perfectly spherical voids where matter once existed. The psychological impact of these weapons often exceeds their immediate tactical effect, as enemy crews struggle to comprehend attacks that can erase their comrades from existence without warning. Bright Lance arrays provide Phantom Titans with precision engagement capability that can eliminate specific components or personnel within enemy formations while leaving surrounding systems intact. These weapons focus psychic energy into laser-like beams that can penetrate the heaviest armor through molecular disruption rather than thermal damage, creating wounds that appear to have been cut by impossibly sharp blades rather than burned by energy weapons. The Bright Lance's ability to target specific subsystems allows Phantom pilots to disable enemy engines without destroying them entirely, a capability that proves particularly valuable when the Eldar seek to preserve certain technologies or minimize collateral damage to civilian populations. The mobility characteristics of Phantom Titans reflect Eldar tactical philosophy, emphasizing speed and precision over brute force and durability. The engine's articulated leg assemblies incorporate gravitic manipulation systems that reduce their effective weight while moving, allowing them to traverse terrain that would prove impassable to Imperial Titans of comparable size. This enhanced mobility extends to their weapon systems, which can track and engage targets across wider arcs than conventional turret mounts, while maintaining accuracy during high-speed maneuvers that would destabilize less sophisticated targeting systems. The operational deployment of Phantom Titans follows patterns that emphasize their role as surgical strike weapons rather than siege engines or defensive platforms. Eldar commanders typically employ these engines in rapid assault operations, where their mobility and precision weaponry can achieve decisive effects against specific high-value targets before withdrawing to avoid prolonged engagement with superior enemy numbers. The Phantom's ability to appear suddenly from concealed positions, eliminate critical enemy assets, and disappear before effective countermeasures can be implemented makes them particularly effective against Imperial forces whose tactical doctrine emphasizes sustained firepower and defensive positioning. Orc Gargants represent the complete antithesis of Eldar engineering philosophy, embodying the crude but devastatingly effective approach to warfare that characterizes all Orc technology. These massive constructs tower over battlefields like mobile scrap heaps, their ramshackle construction incorporating salvaged materials, improvised weapon systems, and mechanical components that should not function according to any rational engineering principles. Despite their chaotic appearance, Gargants possess firepower and durability that rivals the most sophisticated Imperial war engines, their effectiveness enhanced by the psychic field generated by Orc belief that allows impossible mechanical configurations to operate reliably. The construction process for Orc Gargants begins when a big mech accumulates sufficient scrap metal, captured weapons, and mechanical expertise to attempt building what they consider the ultimate expression of Orc engineering philosophy. The design phase typically involves extensive arguments between the big mech and his assistants about optimal weapon placement, armor configuration, and propulsion systems, with disputes often resolved through physical combat that determines which ideas will be implemented. The actual construction proceeds through trial and error, with components added, removed, or modified based on immediate availability, and the big mech's evolving vision of what constitutes proper Gargant design. The materials employed in Gargant construction consist entirely of salvaged components and scrap metal gathered from battlefields, destroyed vehicles, and captured enemy equipment. Orc mechs demonstrate remarkable ingenuity in adapting diverse technologies for their purposes, incorporating Imperial armor plating alongside Eldar weapon systems and Tau drone components within single constructs that somehow achieve functional integration despite their incompatible origins. The welding and assembly techniques employed would horrify Imperial tech priests, involving crude fusion methods, mechanical fasteners, and liberal application of impact tools that create joints held together more by orc determination than engineering principles. The weapon systems mounted on Gargants reflect orc preferences for maximum firepower and spectacular destruction rather than precision or efficiency. Belly guns represent the primary armament, consisting of massive cannons that fire projectiles ranging from conventional shells to nuclear warheads, depending on what ammunition the crew can acquire or manufacture. These weapons typically lack sophisticated targeting systems, relying instead on the gunner's intuition and the general principle that sufficient firepower can compensate for accuracy limitations. The loading mechanisms employ manual labor rather than automated systems, with Gretchen crews responsible for hauling ammunition from storage areas to weapon breaches through processes that prioritize speed over safety. Arm-mounted weapon systems provide Gargants with secondary firepower that can engage multiple targets simultaneously while the primary weapons cycle through their loading sequences. These armaments typically consist of multiple Gatling cannons, missile launchers, or energy weapons salvaged from destroyed vehicles and modified to operate at Gargant scale. The weapon mounts allow for crude targeting adjustment, though the systems lack the sophisticated fire control computers found on Imperial engines. Orc gunners compensate for these limitations through enthusiasm and volume of fire, maintaining continuous barrages that can saturate target areas with overlapping explosions. The power plants that drive Gargant operations combine multiple reactor types and power generation systems in configurations that violate numerous safety protocols, while somehow maintaining sufficient energy output to operate all systems simultaneously. Orc mechs typically install whatever reactors they can salvage or steal, connecting them through improvised power distribution networks that employ cables, pipes, and mechanical linkages in ways that create redundant systems through sheer complexity rather than deliberate engineering. The reactor chambers often house multiple power sources, including fusion reactors, chemical engines, and captured Imperial plasma generators, all operating simultaneously despite their incompatible output characteristics. The crew accommodations within Gargants reflect Orc social hierarchy and their approach to mechanical operation, with the big mech occupying a command position that provides oversight of all major systems, while numerous subordinate mechs manage specific subsystems according to their expertise and social standing. The interior spaces resemble industrial workshops more than military command centers, with tool racks, spare parts storage, and maintenance equipment scattered throughout the engine's superstructure. Living quarters consist of crude bunks and communal areas where off-duty crew members can rest, eat, and engage in the social activities that maintain Orc morale during extended operations. Stampa-class war engines represent smaller, but more numerous Orc constructs that serve roles similar to Imperial battle titans, while maintaining the characteristic Orc approach to engineering and warfare. These engines typically stand between 15 and 25 meters tall depending on their builder's ambitions and available materials, with their construction following the same improvised principles employed for larger Gargants while requiring fewer resources and less construction time. Stampas often serve as testing grounds for big mechs developing techniques and technologies that will eventually be incorporated into larger constructs, making each engine a unique experiment in Orc engineering philosophy. The weapon configurations employed by Stampas emphasize rapid fire capability and close-range destruction, rather than the long-range bombardment systems favored by larger engines. Supa Gattlers provide sustained suppressive fire that can shred infantry formations and light vehicles through sheer volume of projectiles, while Big Shootas offer more precise targeting capability for engaging specific threats. Many Stampas incorporate close combat weapons including power claws, buzz saws, and improvised crushing implements that allow them to engage enemy vehicles in melee combat with devastating effectiveness. The Tau KX-139 Tanar Supremacy Armor represents the pinnacle of Tau battlesuit technology, scaling up the proven principles of personal combat systems to create engines that rival Imperial Titans in firepower while maintaining the technological sophistication and tactical flexibility that characterizes all Tau military equipment. These massive constructs stand approximately 25 meters tall and incorporate advanced materials, targeting systems, and drone integration that creates capabilities unmatched by any other Xenos super heavy platform. The Tanar's sleek, angular design reflects Tau aesthetic preferences while housing weapon systems and defensive measures that can engage multiple target types across diverse tactical scenarios. The construction philosophy behind Tanar development emphasizes modularity and technological integration rather than the brute force approach favored by Imperial designs. Each engine incorporates standardized component interfaces that allow rapid reconfiguration of weapon systems, sensor arrays, and support equipment based on mission requirements and tactical conditions. This flexibility allows individual Tanar suits to adapt their capabilities for specific operational environments, whether engaging in long-range artillery support, close-quarters urban warfare, or combined arms operations alongside conventional Tau forces. The advanced targeting systems employed by Tanar suits represent the most sophisticated fire control technology encountered among Xenos forces, incorporating quantum processing elements and predictive algorithms that can engage multiple targets simultaneously while optimizing ammunition expenditure and tactical positioning. The targeting computers maintain continuous analysis of battlefield conditions, tracking friendly and enemy unit positions while calculating optimal firing solutions that account for target movement, environmental conditions, and ammunition characteristics. This technological sophistication allows Tanar pilots to achieve accuracy levels that exceed even Imperial Titan targeting systems while maintaining situational awareness across entire battlefield regions. Drone integration represents perhaps the most distinctive aspect of Tanar operations, with each engine deploying swarms of specialized support drones that enhance its capabilities far beyond what the primary platform could achieve independently. Gun drones provide additional firepower and point defense capability, while marker drones illuminate targets for enhanced targeting accuracy and coordinate fire support from other Tau units. Shield drones create mobile defensive barriers that can intercept incoming fire, while technical drones perform maintenance and repair operations that keep the engine operational during extended combat deployments. The weapon systems mounted on Tanar suits combine proven Tau technologies with scaling appropriate for super heavy combat operations. Pulse Ordnance multi-drivers fire streams of energized projectiles that can penetrate heavy armor through kinetic impact rather than thermal damage, while their rapid fire capability allows engagement of multiple targets in quick succession. Ion cannons provide devastating single-shot capability against heavily armored targets, their charged particle beams capable of overloading void shields and penetrating even Titan-grade armor plating through sustained bombardment. Missile pod arrays give Tanar suits long-range engagement capability that can saturate target areas with guided munitions, employing diverse warhead types optimized for specific target categories. The missile guidance systems incorporate artificial intelligence routines that can identify and prioritize targets independently, reducing the pilot's workload while ensuring optimal ammunition utilization. Smart missile variants can coordinate their attack patterns to overwhelm point defense systems, while seeker missiles can loiter over target areas until optimal engagement opportunities present themselves. Tyranid biotitans represent perhaps the most alien approach to super heavy warfare encountered by Imperial forces, consisting of living creatures bred specifically for combat roles that rival god machines in size and destructive capability. These organisms demonstrate the Tyranid hive mind's ability to adapt biological systems for military purposes, creating entities that combine the mobility and regenerative capability of living tissue with weapon systems and defensive measures that match or exceed manufactured war engines. The appearance of biotitans on battlefields creates psychological effects that often prove as devastating as their immediate combat capability, as Imperial forces struggle to engage enemies that violate fundamental assumptions about the nature of warfare. The Hierophant Biotitan represents the most commonly encountered Tyranid super-heavy organism, standing approximately 15 meters tall and possessing multiple weapon systems integrated directly into its biological structure. The creature's 6 legs provide exceptional stability and mobility across diverse terrain types, while its elevated firing position allows engagement of targets at extreme ranges. The Hierophant's biocannons fire living ammunition that can adapt its effects based on target characteristics, while its massive claws can tear through vehicle armor and fortified positions with ease. The adaptive capability of Tyranid biotitans allows them to modify their weapon systems and defensive characteristics during combat operations, responding to immediate tactical requirements through biological processes that occur within minutes rather than the hours or days required for mechanical modifications. Creatures facing heavily armored opponents can strengthen their biocannon projectiles and enhance their penetration capability, while those engaging infantry formations can modify their ammunition to create area effect attacks that maximize casualties among dispersed targets. The regenerative properties of biotitans provide defensive capabilities that exceed even void shield protection, as damaged tissue can heal rapidly during combat operations, while destroyed weapon systems can regrow within hours of sustaining damage. This biological resilience makes biotitans extremely difficult to eliminate through conventional weapons fire, as damage that would disable mechanical systems can be overcome through accelerated healing processes that restore full combat capability. Imperial forces have learned that engaging biotitans requires sustained firepower that can overcome their regenerative capacity through sheer volume of damage, rather than relying on precision strikes against critical systems. The Harridan represents an aerial biotitan variant that provides the Tyranid swarm with air superiority capability while delivering devastating ground attacks against enemy formations. These massive flying organisms can transport smaller Tyranid creatures to optimal deployment positions while engaging enemy aircraft and ground targets with integrated weapon systems. The Harridan's ability to operate in 3-dimensional combat environments creates tactical challenges for Imperial forces whose defensive doctrine assumes ground-based threats, forcing adaptation of anti-aircraft systems and tactical deployment patterns to address aerial super-heavy platforms. The Great Rift's violent birth in the year 999 of the 41st millennium fundamentally altered the strategic landscape for Imperial Titan operations, splitting the galaxy into 2 distinct regions and severing critical supply lines that had sustained god-machine deployments for millennia. The massive warp storm's emergence caught numerous Titan legions mid-deployment across distant battlefields, instantly isolating them from their Forge world bases and forcing unprecedented adaptations in operational doctrine. Legio Graphonicus found 3 of their maniples stranded on the dark side of the rift during the Indomitus Crusade's opening phases, their engines forced to operate without resupply for over 2 years, while fighting a running campaign against chaos incursions that threatened to overwhelm entire subsectors. The immediate aftermath of the rift's formation revealed the extent to which Imperial military doctrine had become dependent on reliable warp travel and communication networks. Titan legions that had operated across multiple star systems suddenly lost contact with their command structures, while Forge worlds found themselves unable to coordinate with their deployed engines or provide the specialized maintenance support that kept god machines operational. The isolation forced individual princeps to assume command responsibilities far beyond their normal authority, making strategic decisions that would traditionally require approval from fabricator generals or the Collegia Titanicas senior leadership. Primarch Robute Guilliman's return to active command brought immediate changes to Titan deployment strategies, as his experience from the Great Crusade era provided crucial insights into coordinating God-machine operations with the mixed Imperial forces that comprised the Indomitus Crusade. The Primarch's tactical doctrine emphasized the integration of Titan firepower with Primaris Space Marine formations and redesigned Imperial Guard regiments, creating combined arms approaches that maximize the effectiveness of each component while compensating for their individual limitations. His understanding of Titan capabilities from the 31st millennium proved invaluable in developing new tactical frameworks that accounted for both technological degradation and the enhanced threats facing the 42nd millennium Imperium. The Indomitus Crusade's massive scale required unprecedented coordination between multiple Titan legions operating across hundreds of worlds simultaneously, stretching the Adeptus Titanicus's command and control capabilities to their absolute limits. Fleet Primus alone included elements from 17 different legions, each bringing their own tactical doctrines, equipment configurations, and operational preferences that required careful integration to achieve tactical synergy. The logistical challenges of maintaining these diverse forces while advancing across hostile territory forced innovations in supply chain management and maintenance procedures that would influence Imperial military doctrine for centuries to come. Legio Astorum's participation in the liberation of Vigilus demonstrated both the potential and limitations of modern Titan warfare against the enhanced threats of the 41st millennium. The War Griffins deployed 4 complete maniples to break the Orc siege lines that had resisted conventional Imperial forces for months, their engines advancing through urban terrain that channeled their firepower while limiting their mobility advantages. The campaign revealed how decades of continuous warfare had pushed Titan crews to new levels of tactical expertise, with individual princeps demonstrating coordination and battlefield awareness that exceeded anything recorded during the Heresy era. The Siege of Vigilus also highlighted the increasing sophistication of Xeno's opposition to Imperial Titan operations, as Orc Big Mechs had developed new Gargant configurations specifically designed to counter God-machine tactics. These improvised war engines incorporated captured Imperial technology and salvaged Titan components, creating hybrid systems that combined Orc ingenuity with stolen Imperial engineering principles. The resulting conflict saw Titans engaging enemies that understood their capabilities and limitations, forcing tactical adaptations that emphasized surprise and overwhelming firepower over the methodical approaches that had characterized earlier Imperial campaigns. The Plague Wars that ravaged Ultramar created unique challenges for Titan operations, as Death Guard forces employed biological weapons and corruption techniques that targeted the sacred machine spirits inhabiting God machines. Several engines of Legio Honorum suffered what tech priests termed spiritual contamination after exposure to Nurgle's influence, their machine spirits developing erratic behaviors that required extensive purification rituals and mechanical exorcisms. The experience forced the development of new protective protocols and spiritual safeguards designed to prevent chaos corruption of artificial consciousnesses during extended operations in tainted environments. The Forge world politics that emerged following the Great Rift's formation reflected the Imperium's broader fragmentation, as isolated installations were forced to make independent decisions about resource allocation and strategic priorities without guidance from Mars or Terra. The competition for rare Titan Standard Templet Constructs intensified dramatically as Forge worlds recognized that their existing stockpiles might represent the last examples of certain technologies for centuries or millennia to come. Forge World Lucius initiated aggressive trading negotiations with neighboring installations, offering manufactured goods and technical expertise in exchange for access to STC fragments that could enhance their Titan production capabilities. The rediscovery of the Warmaster-class STC fragment on Zhao Arcad's ruins created a crisis within the Adeptus Mechanicus hierarchy, as multiple Forge worlds claimed legitimate rights to the technology based on ancient treaties and technical agreements that predated the heresy. The dispute escalated when Ryza and Metallica both dispatched Titan maniples to secure the archaeological site, creating a tense standoff that required direct intervention from the resurrected Primarch Guilliman to prevent open warfare between loyal Imperial forces. The eventual resolution established new protocols for STC recovery and distribution that prioritized strategic necessity over historical claims. Mars itself underwent significant reorganization following the return of stable warp travel, as the Red Planet's leadership recognized that the old centralized command structure had proven inadequate for managing Titan operations across a galaxy split by the Great Rift. The establishment of regional fabricator generals with autonomous authority over local forge worlds created a more flexible command structure that could respond to immediate threats without requiring approval from distant authorities. This decentralization fundamentally altered the political dynamics within the Adeptus Mechanicus, as regional leaders gained influence that had previously been concentrated on Mars alone. The technological challenges facing Titan legions in the 41st millennium extend far beyond simple maintenance and repair issues, encompassing fundamental questions about the Imperium's ability to maintain its most sophisticated military assets in an increasingly hostile galaxy. The degradation of ancient STC databases has reached critical levels, with essential manufacturing specifications for key Titan components existing only in fragmentary form that requires extensive interpretation and reconstruction. Forge World Griffon forced destruction during Hive Fleet Leviathans. Assault eliminated irreplaceable technical knowledge about Warlord-class plasma reactor configurations, forcing surviving legions to develop improvised solutions that sacrifice efficiency for reliability. The recruitment crisis affecting Titan crews has reached unprecedented severity, as the specific neurological compatibility required for machine-spirit interface occurs in less than 1 in 10 million human candidates. The Imperium's massive population provides sufficient numbers in absolute terms, but the screening and training infrastructure necessary to identify and develop suitable candidates has been severely degraded by millennia of warfare and technological decline. Many Forge worlds have reduced their screening standards out of desperation, accepting candidates who would have been rejected during earlier eras and hoping that modified training regimens can compensate for marginal compatibility ratings. The psychological toll of extended Titan operations has become increasingly severe as crews face threats that exceed anything encountered during the Heresy era. The emergence of Chaos forces wielding Dark Age technologies and Xenos species with enhanced anti-Titan capabilities has created combat environments where even experienced princeps struggle to maintain tactical effectiveness. The machine spirits themselves display signs of stress and trauma, their artificial consciousnesses developing defensive behaviors and risk-averse tendencies that can compromise mission effectiveness during critical moments. Legio Tempestus's recent campaigns against Tau expansion fleets revealed the extent to which Xenos forces have adapted their tactics to counter Imperial Titan operations. The Tau deployment of coordinated KX-139 Tanar supremacy armor formations, supported by extensive drone networks, created engagement scenarios where Imperial God machines faced enemies with comparable firepower but superior mobility and coordination. The resulting battles forced tactical innovations that emphasized combined arms cooperation and electronic warfare capabilities that many Titan legions had neglected during previous centuries of operation. The emergence of Primaris Space Marine chapters with enhanced coordination capabilities has created new opportunities for Titan Astartes cooperation that exceed anything achieved during the Great Crusade. The improved communication systems and tactical flexibility of Primaris forces allow for real-time coordination with Titan operations that can achieve synergistic effects beyond the sum of individual capabilities. Joint operations on Vigilis demonstrated how properly coordinated Titan Primaris formations could achieve tactical objectives that would have required significantly larger conventional forces, suggesting potential solutions to the Imperium's chronic manpower shortages. The increasing frequency of chaos incursions and demon manifestations has forced fundamental changes in Titan operational doctrine, as crews must now prepare for enemies that can ignore conventional physics and employ supernatural abilities against god-machine systems. The development of specialized ammunition types and weapon configurations designed specifically for engaging demonic entities represents a significant departure from traditional Imperial military doctrine, while the psychological preparation required for crews to maintain effectiveness against such opponents strains training resources that are already stretched beyond capacity. The discovery of functioning Dark Age technology caches during the Indomitus Crusade has provided glimpses of what Imperial Titans might have achieved during humanity's technological zenith, while simultaneously highlighting how far current capabilities have declined from their original potential. Archaeotech weapon systems recovered from sealed vaults demonstrate firepower levels that exceed current Titan armaments by orders of magnitude, while their power requirements and maintenance needs surpass anything that modern Forge worlds can support. These discoveries have sparked intense debates within the Adeptus Mechanicus about whether attempting to reverse engineer such technologies represents salvation or damnation for the Imperium's future. The threat posed by Hive Fleet Leviathan's bioship constructs has forced Titan crews to develop new tactics for engaging enemies that can adapt their capabilities in real time during combat operations. The Tyrannid ability to rapidly evolve countermeasures to Imperial weapon systems creates dynamic threat environments where traditional tactical doctrine proves inadequate. Legio Graphonicus lost 2 Warlord-class engines during the defense of Baal when Hierophant Bio-Titans demonstrated unprecedented resistance to plasma weaponry, apparently having adapted their biological composition based on analysis of earlier engagements. The strategic implications of these mounting challenges have forced Imperial High Command to confront the possibility that Titan warfare as practiced for 10 millennia may no longer be sustainable in the face of evolving galactic threats. The irreplaceable nature of God-machine losses means that each engine destroyed represents a permanent reduction in Imperial military capability that cannot be offset through conventional force multiplication. The mathematics of attrition warfare suggest that without fundamental changes in tactical doctrine or technological capability, the Adeptus Titanicus faces inevitable decline toward operational irrelevance. The Indomitus Crusade's mixed results have demonstrated both the continued relevance of Titan warfare and its increasing limitations in the face of 41st millennium threats. While God machines remain capable of achieving decisive tactical victories when properly deployed and supported, their strategic impact has diminished as enemies develop countermeasures, and the Imperium's ability to replace losses continues to decline. The successful liberation of key worlds like Vigilus and Baal validates the continued investment in Titan operations, while the heavy casualties suffered during these campaigns highlight the unsustainable nature of current operational tempo. The future of the Adeptus Titanicus depends on the Imperium's ability to address fundamental challenges that threaten the very existence of these sacred war machines. The technological decline that has plagued Imperial civilization for millennia shows no signs of reversal, while the threats facing humanity continue to grow in sophistication and power. The machine spirits that inhabit God machines may represent the Imperium's greatest hope for transcending these limitations, as their artificial consciousnesses possess capabilities that exceed human understanding and might hold keys to recovering lost knowledge or developing entirely new approaches to warfare. As the 42nd millennium dawns, the Titans of the Adeptus Titanicus stand as both symbols of humanity's greatest achievements and reminders of how far the Imperium has fallen from its original promise. These god machines continue their eternal war against the darkness, their plasma hearts burning with the fury of dying stars, while their machine spirits maintain vigil over a galaxy that grows more dangerous with each passing year. Whether they will endure to see humanity's ultimate triumph or fall as monuments to a civilization that reached too high remains the greatest question facing the Imperium in its darkest hour. The answer lies not in the strength of adamantine and ceramite, but in the unbreakable will of those who crew these sacred engines, and the undying hope that even in the grim darkness of the far future, there can still be victory against the forces that would consume all of creation.